gentlemen, be a rosebud!
Behold! The power of magnetism! What would your finishing maneuver be called?
The circumcision.
Follow the process!
Hello everyone and welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast, the wrestling podcast where we review every damn segment of Raw and give you guys the wrestling news of the week. If you're asking what is my name, I will tell you it is Turbo Tony 19, and I'm here with Here Comes the Money! Money, money, money! Here comes the money! The product of his father's semen, Matt O'Mac! Right?
It was a matter of time.
Yeah.
I love it.
It had to be done. How are you doing this week, Matt?
Not too bad.
That's it. We've barely talked to each other about wrestling operations, so shall we say, this week. So we've got a packed show. I know I've been saying that a lot over the course of the last couple of weeks, but to be honest, they've all been over 2-hour shows. I think this one will be lengthy as well. We've got lots to get through.
Not to mention our predictions as well.
That's it. So just before we go forward, if you do want to follow us on Twitter, Matt handles our Twitter account. It's at TalkWrestlePod. On the 50th episode, that handle will always be up on a picture. I keep forgetting to do it, but it's going to be on there. I will remember to do it.
Good.
That way you guys can know exactly where to go on the Twitter front. And that way you can ask Matt questions and he can bombard them with me. Because we're getting plenty of questions from you guys each and every single episode. And if you are new to the podcast, thanks a lot for coming along. And to all the people that joined us last time, I said we're just about to hit 120, and then I can say this week we're just about to hit 130. So awesome subscriber count this week. Thank you for joining the show. That's it. Man, it does seem like we're going to do our 50th anniversary show in 2 weeks' time, right? And I remember starting this up and like not having a subscriber to our name, and now it's like, yeah, I think we've done well.
And it's getting there now.
It's getting there. Yeah, we're doing all right. Bring on the next 100, I say. There we go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to all you guys for supporting us. You're going to get loads of thanks in 2 weeks, guys. So we'll save up all our thanks and appreciation for then. But you are very well appreciated. So let's get into what we've got for the show this week. We've got the wrestling news, got a few juicy bits of information about stuff that myself and Matt may not like, and going forward and stuff like that. We've got the fan feedback. As I said, this is about a month and a half ago. I said to people, send us in questions. I don't know if we'll get questions each week, but we'll answer them. And now since I said
it's like every now and then we'll just, if we get a question, we'll give an answer. But it's like, oh, okay.
You guys are doing great with the questions, and hopefully we're doing great with the answers. I imagine we are, because you keep asking the questions, which is great. Awesome. So we've got that again this week. We've got our fail of the week. A very interesting one there for you. Delving back into the WCW pits, because it's just a gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, it's about to happen.
That's it. And then we've got the final Raw before Hell in a Cell. And me and Matt have been hugely critical of the number of go-home shows going into pay-per-views of recent note. So, whether or not we believe that this one did what, we think it couldn't do, considering it had 1 week to build up one of their main events. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. And obviously, pay-per-view predictions. It is pay-per-view week tomorrow night. Not tomorrow night, sorry. Yeah, tomorrow night for you guys.
Tomorrow night as we record it, yeah.
Tonight as we record, I'm getting my days mixed up. But tonight, as you guys are listening, is Hell in a Cell, so you can get our predictions. And it's a little bit of a tougher one to predict, I have to say, than it was definitely than the last pay-per-view was. I mean, I think you and me aced the last pay-per-view, but we'll get into that anyway. So, let's get into the wrestling news. Very interesting thing that popped up on my Facebook page. They're announcing 2 new people to be involved in the cast of Total Divas.
Oh, yeah.
You know where I'm going with this now. You know where I'm going. One of them is Alicia Fox.
Don't care.
Fair enough. Whatever. She's probably better off on the show. Okay. The other one is the Chosen One. Yeah. Our Chosen One.
The potential, who we perceive to be the saviour of the Divas division.
Yeah. Paige will be joining Total Divas. Now, I'm not going to go crazy and go, oh my god, she's completely ruined, but it does put a bit of a tint on Paige, I mean, the fact is that she's always come up in the sense of, I'm going to be a a wrestler and then a diva second.
Yeah.
The anti-diva is what she used to call herself back in the NXT days. And now she's on Total Divas, so go figure.
Yeah. Like, not very anti now, is it?
Yeah, that's it. Now, I do watch Total Divas. Well, my wife does, and I catch it. So, that's part of research for the show. So I will no doubt catch her exploits on there. But with the word going around that they don't want any sort of big wrestling rivalry to be involved with any of the cast of Total Divas at the moment, as it stands, doesn't bode very well for Paige going forward.
No, I mean, fortunately, I read somewhere that they were going, the whole, like, Cameron apparently said on, like, a Jericho podcast, and someone else actually confirmed, like, they never want a Total Diva to have the title. Like, since then, Stephanie McMahon's basically turned around, this isn't the case.
I think Stephanie McMahon is saying that to cover our own arse, right? It's not Steph's
I
decision.
hope it's true, because the last thing I want is like, oh, but they're on Total Divas, they can't have the title. All of your divas are on Total Divas. It's essentially like AJ will be champ forever.
Yeah. Now, the reason why they don't want a Total Diva to have the belt is not because they can't wrestle WWE, don't think of it that way. The reason they think of it that way is because they win the belt, Total Divas will cover it, but it will come out 3 or 4 months after that actually happens. It creates a bit of a continuity issue. Which I, to be honest, I don't have too much of a problem with myself, but that's the reason why they're doing it.
I mean, I don't have a problem. I mean, it's sort of like, the continuity problem of the whole thing. It's like, well, you did Tough Enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, and you bring the winner onto Raw. That's got to be at least 6 weeks after the final episode was aired.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does it matter?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of divas on Total Divas I do not want involved in a wrestling rivalry. Cameron being one of them, even though she was interviewed. She's not a good wrestler. She's bad, very bad. But there is someone there that I think could be involved in that. I think it's not completely out of the way. I'm ready to accept Total Divas being a part of the show if they stop the hokey booking of that show in terms of how it comes onto Raw. If you're really gonna build up stuff, then build it up properly on the show. Just because these girls are on Total Divas doesn't mean you have to have them in random rivalries week in, week out just because of what happens on the Total Divas show.
She called her a bitch, and now we're having a match.
One of them gave them a bad present, so they're going to fight each other. It makes no sense. So move away from that. They won't do that, unfortunately, which might mean that you might have Paige involved in really random matches with people that she's apparently arguing with on the show.
Yeah.
So, that's the way that it pans out, really. But it's the thing is, I
think we can always just go back to our usual statement: Total Divas can exist, just don't fuck with my Raw.
Yeah, I'm fine. Like, people might get us wrong, right? We've slammed Total Divas a lot. I don't think it's a good show. It's a pile of crap, personally. I've watched it, right? But it has a place. It brings in a demographic that WWE previously didn't cater to, right? So, in terms of WWE, it's actually a good business decision by WWE, a great one, in fact. The problem is they've ran too far with it, and now, as you said there, Matt, it's seeped into our wrestling show. The two can be apart. You don't have to fuse them, because then you're going to start pissing off your wrestling fans. Wrestling fans will not watch Total Divas. Outright, right? I haven't even been interested. It's like, you could watch Total Divas right now, and I'm like, I could go and poke out my eyes. It's not like on Total Divas, on the hour-long show, you give them a 15-minute wrestling match. They don't do that. They don't try and cater to the wrestling fans, so don't. Total Divas is for the E fans, that like Keeping Up with the Kardashians and all this other stuff. The wrestling show is for wrestling fans. It's very easy to, appeal to each demographic. So that's the way I go about it. Unfortunately, if WWE don't change their mindset when it comes to Total Divas, and like I said, it doesn't matter what Stephanie McMahon said, she's not in charge, right? And not even a large part of our fan feedback is talking about this. Triple H isn't even in charge, right? So, it will only change if Vince decides it changes. And he's a stubborn ass guy, and there is some merit to what he's talking about, but still. Anyway. Do you know, Matt, the name Cody Barbieri?
No.
No. You know him, but you may know him as the guy that Alberto Del Rio slapped and got fired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
the guy that... Yes, I recall.
Right. Apparently, this guy has been involved in a few things like this. News came out that this guy has caused... this wasn't the first issue that he's caused backstage. And while he may have done his job well, he was a bit of a cock, of what we heard.
Backstage dick, yeah.
Personally, I don't agree with the things that he said. I didn't agree with the way that Del Rio did it. But the news anyway this week is that he has left the company. Apparently earlier in the month he's left. WWE are looking to fill the role that he previously had. So whether or not he kept making issues or maybe he left the company, those these stories don't come around for more backstage people than it does for wrestlers, obviously, for obvious reasons. But it is interesting, and because we talked very extensively about Del Rio being released, I thought I'd put this up in the news to show that both guys are now gone. So, interesting there anyway. The Undertaker in the news this week. Wow. Jesus. He likes to go in hiding, doesn't he?
That's
Undertaker,
it.
After his going to work for one day of the year. But apparently he's going to be moving into a more advisory role in NXT Developmental.
Yes.
Which is probably the best place for him.
Definitely. I saw a comment on this story on Facebook, and it was like, now they have no excuse but to succeed.
Yeah. Like, if you've got someone of that caliber, the only thing I would say, little knock on Undertaker, is that he hasn't been full-time in the company for a long while. He may be in the camp that he doesn't, like, you couldn't do the Undertaker role today. It wouldn't work, right?
No.
But in terms of knowing what to do in the ring, how to use ring psychology, and no matter what gimmick you have.
Story.
Your story.
If there's one thing that Undertaker's always been good for, is telling the story with the match.
Yeah.
So
he can only do good things for them in terms of developmental. And as you say, he's got a place in WWE folklore. He's one of their huge guys, the Undertaker.
Yeah.
He's done huge things for that company. So to be able to have a guy so ingrained.
Yeah, I mean, you hear any podcast and they're always mentioning, like, The Undertaker, and then whenever the moment The Undertaker's name is mentioned, it's just like, he is the general backstage.
Yes. And how many stories?
Yeah, like, every time you hear it from sort of Jericho, Triple H, Austin, just like, nobody fucks with Undertaker.
Yeah. He's a little bit, the way that I would explain the way that he used to be is the way that Andre the Giant used to be back in the day. No one fucked with Andre. No one fucked with Andre. And you had to conduct yourself in a professional manner, otherwise you'd get on his bad side and he wouldn't like you. The Undertaker comes across as sort of the same guy of the stories we've heard. You do your stuff, you do it well, you do it in a professional manner, and he might even give you a match. Hell, he had a match with Dean Ambrose earlier on, in the Shield's career. I think it was last year, wasn't it? So he'll give you something, but if you go around, acting as if your shit don't stink, maybe like the original Sin Cara used to do, then he's going to slap you and tell you, come on, dude, like, wake up a little bit, because I don't fucking like you.
Yeah.
I don't take Undertaker as a kind of guy that would take people's shit. He's got pull in that company.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In backstage, not in terms of booking and stuff, obviously. But anyway, so that's the news this week. Unless I've go on.
I raised this one for you. I've literally just now read this.
Okay, go on.
They're pulling a major There's talks of pulling a major pay-per-view.
Okay, go on.
Take a guess.
One of their major pay-per-views.
Yes.
I don't know. There's a lot of really naff ones. Battleground.
I said a major one.
Oh, really? Oh, so one of the top 4? Oh, it has to be Survivor Series, surely.
Okay, no, it's not a top 4, but it's on the road to WrestleMania.
A Chamber?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
There's talks of pulling the Chamber due to the fact there's only one title now. I don't like that.
I think... I don't... You and me have stated, funny enough, as Hell in a Cell is coming up, we dislike shows being called the matches that are going to be on the show because it books them in too much.
Yeah.
New Year's Revolution was the one that preceded Elimination Chamber, and it just became normal that Elimination Chamber would match at that would happen on that show, but it didn't lock them in that they had to do it each year.
I mean, I don't know if sort of like it's like a former WWE and backstage employee, Mets fans forever. I've noticed his name crop up quite a lot recently. It's like a word going around that the WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view will be no more. Early leads would be either WWE Fastlane or Fast Track.
No, I don't see that happening.
I don't.
It could.
I think that's a bit shit.
It could, but I just don't think that they're going to tamper with it this year.
Yeah, it's like the Chamber match won't be gone for good, just the pay-per-view itself.
Well, yeah, obviously, you know, they won't.
But it'll only be at pay-per-view events that call for it, so we no longer have
the Chamber at that event. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so we never had a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view.
Yeah, I know what you mean with it. I just don't see them doing it, at very least now. Like, it's too close. And that obviously, you know, we'll see how it goes along, but I
like the Chamber match.
Yeah, I think the Elimination Chamber is fine. Maybe it is, the Chamber itself maybe is a bit too close to Mania, because that is a big selling point for a pay-per-view. And to have it so close to WrestleMania maybe isn't the best idea.
Yeah.
I do get that. But it's not going to change now. You know, it's too close now. We'll keep an eye on it going forward. But good pickup there anyway. You know, be interesting to see. I don't like the idea of Fast Track and Fast Lane. That's just bad. That's bad.
Oh, no, I don't like it.
That stinks pretty bad, I have to admit. We move into our fan feedback this week. A very well worded question, and one that I liked, because the majority of people would look at it and go, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. But when you look into deepen it, like me and Matt always do in these questions, like, you know, when we did last week talking about Ziggler and Michael switching places, and realised that our initial thoughts weren't the same.
Where we originally thought he'd be amazing. Hang on, nope, take a second.
Yeah, that's it. So Pirate Hunter 316, which by the way, awesome name, I have to say. Yeah. Arg, I guess. Arg. To you. He is asking, he or she, I imagine it's a he. He is asking whether or not NXT has been successful in creating new or any future stars going forward. Now, most would brush the question off because they look at the fact, especially recently, when you've got the likes of Roman Reigns, the Shield guys, right? They're the easy ones to look at.
Wyatts.
The Wyatts, you know. We're going to talk about the Wyatts as well in this. Yeah. Most will brush it off as well because they'll miss the question. They'll be like, of course NXT's done right. Have you seen the show? The show's great. That's not what the question is. Well, no one's debating NXT is a fantastic show. In fact, sometimes it's the best wrestling show of the week that we watch.
That's it. And how many times have we turned around and went, Takeover was fucking amazing?
Yeah.
And as a result, the WWE pay-per-view, the next one, is good as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like we can't let the young ones outdo us.
Yeah. He goes on to say anyway that anyone from NXT has either fizzled away into the mid-card or has been taken off TV altogether. And he wanted a sort of report card on people that of NXT in general that has been promoted to the main roster. Now, we've said always, since we've begun the podcast, you know, there's been a few people that has been brought up since we began this, even though it was 50 weeks ago almost that we started, right?
Yeah.
That we're very worried for the likes of Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville, Tyler Breeze to be brought up. Because when you look at the Shield, Rusev, who I think has been treated very well, given a lot of attention since he debuted, and possibly Paige, because she's been treated far better than another person that got brought up, i.e. Emma.
Summer Rae.
Right. Summer Rae, even Summer Rae's been treated better than Emma, right? So...
Yeah, okay. I guess you're going to be part with Fandango, and you're going to be with the funny man, Santino.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
However, there is a long list of guys that haven't been treated very well. I'm going to go through them now. You got the likes of Big E, who was brought up, paired with Ziggler, won a title, did nothing with that title, and then was removed from television. He was on this week, but I was genuinely shocked to see him.
He was, I almost forgot.
Yeah. Xavier Woods, man, that guy...
Xavier who?
Yeah, that guy had probably the worst debut, except Adam Rose, I say. But, like, the guy literally made little to zero impact.
No, I'd say even Adam Rose got better than Woods.
Yeah, on his debut he did, yeah, definitely.
Rose is still around.
Yeah.
Fairly regularly.
Woods, if you were to throw him in a pond... and to see how much impact he made, there wouldn't even be a ripple.
Yeah.
You know, it just fade into the water. The guy is gone. Like, I know he's been paired up with Big E and Kofi Kingston, and some people still cling to, oh, WWE still got them in their thoughts. They're all dressing the same. It's not really the same, really. They haven't showed up on Raw. In my mind, WWE don't give a shit about all three of them.
Yeah.
And ironically, funny enough, them three being paired together probably has damaged them. All three of them, ironically, is in a weird way. Because now, instead of one guy not being put on TV every now and then, it's like, we can't put one guy on because he's part of this group. Let's just take him. Let's just not use
Let's put him in a group and just chuck them all.
Exactly.
They'll get main event if
yeah.
they're lucky.
Adam Rose, who has been the plague of shitty segments since he arrived on the scene, I get uncomfortable when he comes on the screen because I know something bad is about to happen.
Especially now, it's like, what's with the really creepy eye makeup?
Yeah, like, oh my god, it's getting bad. It really is. And like we said, there is something here. There's something that you can maybe able to do with this guy. With WWE definitely shoehorned him into. We heard a story one week of Vince not liking Adam Rose, and you know, truth be told, that week going on afterwards, Adam Rose was far more sufferable than he was even beforehand. So, yeah, he's not doing very well for himself, except for hanging out with Kathie Lee Gifford and Hoda, of course.
Oh yeah,
highlight of his career.
How did we forget this?
Yeah. Bo Dallas, who has been laughably booked. I thought the way they started him was fantastic. The minute he lost his joke streak to
R-Truth as well.
Yeah. Who, by the way, hasn't been seen since he beat Bo Dallas.
Yeah. It's like, you got to... Yay! What did you get? Nothing.
Yeah. I think R-Truth went on from that fantastic win over this really hot debuting rookie, you know, from NXT. What did he go on? Did he go on maybe and challenge for a belt? Did he do this? He became Dolph Ziggler's stunt double,
yeah.
Which apparently just looks exactly like him, even though he's black.
And very tattooed.
And raps.
Yeah.
So, there you are. Even the Wyatts recently now, with what I'm just going to call their reboot. This has been, we labelled an episode of the podcast earlier on saying Bray's bad year, because it's been a fucking horrendous year for Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family in general. It got to a point where they had to take them off TV, give them time, and run these vignettes, which we're going to talk about in our Raw review, because they had been so laughably booked.
Yeah.
Here's the reason, right? Here's the reason. The biggest reason why WWE, even with the Shield, right, even though they're in the middle of doing it, the biggest reason why they haven't got a new John Cena yet. Let's say that's what NXT should be for, to find the next John Cena, to find the next main guy, you know, or main guys to take control of the company going forward, right? And that's what everyone in development should strive to be. They shouldn't strive to be on the main roster. They should strive to be the guy.
Rather than be the main roster, to be the main draw.
Yeah. Now, the main reason why they think they might be able to do it lies in two words. Vince McMahon. I'm going to tell you categorically right now. Vince doesn't want new stars.
No.
He has what he wants, which is John Cena.
And Randy Orton.
And Randy Orton to, you know, somewhat lesser extent. I firmly believe, and feel free to disagree with me here, Matt, and our fans as well, but I firmly believe that as long as both of these things are happening, John Cena will never promote new stars over John Cena. Ever, right? As long as John Cena is active on the roster and Vince is alive. As long as those two things happen, Cena would never, ever be dislodged off the top of it. And the reason being is because Vince is stuck in the 1970s and the 1980s of booking. It's like, since he hasn't had Ted Turner, you know, basically kicking up the arse and say, well, I'm going to beat you, so if you don't get with the times, then you're going to fail as a company. It seems like now he's got no competition. He's got lazy and he's reverted back to, I only need one big star like a Hulk Hogan. I don't need to make anyone else a big star.
Yeah.
And
it's terrible. I think it's also got sort of back into the old, like his old mentality of, I want the big guy.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there are just as talented smaller guys. No, I want the big guy. I mean, fair enough. I mean, it's in wrestling, you at least need to look in the sort of way that if someone was looking at you in the crowd, they shouldn't instantly go, well, I could kick his ass.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be in that sort of situation. Like, you should sort of look the part. And Cena, like, I will turn around and say, I would not want to fight Cena.
He's a big guy.
He's a big guy. But it's Vince just like, but he's my big guy.
It's not even so much that.
It's just sort of like, it's almost, well, I'm sort of seeing it as like he's stuck in his mindset of, I need big muscle.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, there's bigger guys than Cena, right? The thing is, Cena ticks all their boxes, and he has done for a while. He's a good-looking guy. He's good on the mic. He can deliver a good match. And, you know, he is exactly what Vince wants. He's a chiseled, big guy. But the reason why Vince... Going back to the question, in terms of why I think that NXT stars aren't having a great time getting through the ceiling, it's because there's two different ceilings, right, that Vince has. He has the ceiling which you can break through and become the biggest star that you've ever become, even maybe in the company, right? You know, possibly you could be the next guy that reignites wrestling as a whole. You could be the next Austin, right?
Yeah.
To revolutionize the industry. What did Vince say? He wrapped one hand around the industry, around its throat, and said, "I'm taking you to new heights." Right? That's what he said about Austin.
Yeah.
But then there's a ceiling just below that, which Vince will not let anyone go through, which is the John Cena ceiling. As in, you don't ever get as high as John Cena. He is my guy. He's my top star, and I will not let him be dislodged from main event to give you time to get up to that extra level. And if the fans get on you, I will make Cena beat you so he goes higher. That's what Vince thinks.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how they used to do things in the 1970s, 80s. You had one big guy that fans would pay to see. They would pay to see WWE. They would pay to see Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Right. That's why the whole WCW and WWE Monday Night Wars was so entertaining as a fan, as a fan of wrestling as a whole, is because it was almost like NBA trades. It was like LeBron James going from Miami Heat to Cleveland Cavaliers this year, right? Huge stuff that's going on. That's exactly the same when like Kevin Nash went to WCW and formed the NWO. It was like massive stuff that was going on, because the fans wanted to see wrestlers and not companies, right? Now WWE is a brand, and ironically, it makes
it's not even just WWE's not just a brand; it's the brand.
Yeah, so it's very easy for Vince just to put Cena in the top spot, and book in a way that's very dated, where he's not, in touch with his audience, which he isn't. We're going to go into that more later with the Cena-Orton rivalry that's now happening again. He isn't in touch with his audience, so he throws out the very dated booking, which is, I'll give you Cena. He's our top guy. That's who you pay to see. I'll give you Cena.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. So going back to the question, going down, so why are we talking so much about Vince and Cena, right? It's because the guys in NXT and the guys that book NXT do a great job. And it's Triple H. Triple H wants these guys to get to the net. They want Triple H. With Triple H, NXT is his baby. It's his definitely. Creation. It's something that
he pitched the idea. He did. Like, I recently listened to the Jericho podcast with Triple H.
Yeah.
Amazing podcast. But it's sort of just like he pitched everything. He was just sort of like, when I first started in this industry, I wish there was, like, if I wanted to start out in the industry today, what would I want? And that's where the Performance Center came from. And he did everything. He priced up everything. He valued everything. And he's just like, and this is it.
Yeah.
NXT is the product of Triple H.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. And Triple H, NXT is more Triple H's than it is Vince. And there's not many things in WWE that I can say that about, right?
Yeah.
However, the final word, until Vince dies, ironically, which is going from a CM Punk promo, the final word will always and foremost stop with Vince. As long as Vince is alive, he's the top dog in that company, and Triple H will always have to do what he says. No matter how much we hear stories each week of them apparently clashing backstage. Oh, this should be this should be this. Who do you really think is going to make the final decision on that?
Yeah.
Vince McMahon. He's as much a boss now as he ever was. Don't make the Triple H factor fool you. It's still Vince's company, and because of that, then the NXT stars, they come up. They might, fulfill a good role. Especially with the Shield guys. They've been the best booked out of anyone in NXT.
Yeah, definitely.
But do I really think that Vince is ever going to give the likes of Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns time over Cena? No, I don't think so.
You
they
can
can
have
be big
time.
stars.
You can have time alongside Cena.
Yeah. It's not as if they're going to say to Cena, okay, you've done your bit, you've done great. Let's make you in a semi role. We're gonna very much push Roman Reigns as our next top guy. Maybe you'll go against Reigns. Reigns will beat you because it's time to pass the torch. Stuff like this. Do you really think in your mind that Vince is going to say those words? Absolutely not. So 2 ceilings. The John Cena ceiling, the ceiling where you can become the next big, huge attraction in all of wrestling. And because Vince McMahon will not let you go through that John Cena ceiling, you're never going to get to the next one. So that's my thought about it. And it is a shame because you look at the likes, let's go through that list again. Big E, I like Big E.
Yep.
In fact, he did some pretty decent promo work in NXT, and he's a good enough wrestler. He's much better than what he's been used as. Xavier Woods, maybe not so much in the ring, but he could be a very good manager. And maybe occasionally get in and out of the ring, He could
be a good manager that can take a bump.
Yeah, and he could be in tag teams and stuff like that. Adam Rose. I think me and Matt have seen enough of the Adam Rose gimmick to last us a lifetime.
Bring back the Hunter.
Yeah, so maybe rebook the guy. Maybe we send him down to NXT. It doesn't know NXT wants. WWE wants to do that anyway. Bo Dallas, you can still fix that guy. You really could. Fix Bo Dallas.
Yeah, he's not out of reach yet.
Yeah, so he's still got a chance, and I do like Bo's character. Bo's character in NXT was gold, fantastic. It was it's one of those rare gimmicks that naturally turned heel, and they're the best ones.
Yeah, so going back onto Xavier Woods, I think part of when you were saying about the bad booking of him, let's chuck him with Brodus Clay, who's coming out, who's starting to fade out into nothingness.
Yeah. And it looked like it was setting up maybe a match with him, and then he was just getting destroyed because it was actually for R-Truth. And it was he just got side-kicked a lot in that.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the Wyatts now, they are being rebooted, so hopefully that will give them...
And I'm excited for the Wyatts again.
Yeah, the reboot of the Wyatts is something I'm excited for, and we will talk about that on the Raw review. But in terms of, go back to the main question, whether NXT's been successful in creating new stars...
Yes, but they they shouldn't leave NXT anytime soon.
The 3 stars they're going to have are all from the Shield. That from what I can see of. But as you said there, Matt, they're never going to get as big as Cena because Vince won't let them.
Yeah.
Look at Daniel Bryan.
I think it's almost like a terrible thing because I think the best 4 of them would literally just be wait. Just stay in NXT, become massive in NXT, and then we'll just wait for Vince to die.
It sounds bad, but I mean it's just the way Vince thinks, and that's it. He's got lazy, and the lack of people kicking his ass in the ratings each week, where he had to make a plethora of stars in his Attitude Era, has made him just give us the same card over and over again.
Yeah.
So there we are. Moving on, we've talked way loads about the fan feedback. So Pirate Hunter 316, that's our thoughts on that. Fantastic question.
Hopefully it answered the question.
Hopefully it answered the question.
We just rabbled.
Swayed a little bit, but that's our key, is that the success on NXT stars in terms of making real main event guys is down to Vince. So there we are. That's it. Fail of the week. Fail of the week. Oh, fail of the week. You know what? I'm getting such good fails of the week. I don't even know what I'm going to do for the 50th episode.
That's it. You've got to come up with something real good.
Something, huge that reverberates all over wrestling. This one was pretty bloody dumb, I have to say. Merchandise sales are a huge part of wrestling companies, right? John Cena shirts sell like hotcakes. We know that. We're not big fans of John Cena. I would never buy a John Cena t-shirt, but I can understand why little kids would love to buy all the different colours.
I know full well that I could walk up to a merch stand and I will see a lot of the smaller sizes sold out.
Yeah. Well, Matt, you've seen you've got a Nexus hoodie, you've got CM Punk stuff.
Yep.
You know, you like getting, the shirts and stuff like that, merchandise.
I've got merch in the past.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of our fans here like getting merchandise. And why not? I've got a bit of merchandise myself. We're wrestling fans, right? So why would you then? This is just, I'll go into the actual fail of the week. I just want to put like a similarity up before we start. Why would you then, if you're selling tons upon tons upon tons of John Cena's shirts, take the shirt off him and not make him come out with a shirt anymore, and then therefore just remove the entire merchandise away?
There'd be no need.
It'd be stupid, wouldn't it?
For as long as he wears it, we'll sell it.
Yeah, exactly. So why would you take the shirt off him? That's, to me, very simple. Answer. You wouldn't take the shirt off him. You leave it on.
If anything, it's just the easiest form of marketing.
Yeah, of course, isn't it? Right. Even more so goes to Rey Mysterio. The reason I bring this up, Rey Mysterio, we keep hearing stories each week of him having contract issues with WWE. So I looked into Rey Mysterio, and the one that reminded me most of him was back in his WCW days, in the Bischoff era, funny enough. So Russo, you get a free pass this week.
Yeah.
All right, it's just a Bischoff fuck up. So Rey is building a really stellar reputation for himself, so much so that people are really chanting for him. And he's got his mask on, he's doing these amazing moves, and he did much more wow type moves in WCW than he ever did in WWE.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He was, making great headway. People really getting behind him. His mask was selling like hotcakes. It really was. It was selling like, they were selling out of his masks. Little kids wanted to be just like Rey Mysterio, so they'd buy the mask. It'd be awesome, You could almost be like a superhero. You can understand why people want to buy the mask, right?
Yeah.
Great marketing. They sold a lot of them. WCW made a lot of money off it, and so did Rey. Awesome stuff. You think, fantastic. Eric Bischoff decided one day that apparently Rey Mysterio would be more marketable if he would take off his mask.
Wrong.
This is dumb on a multitude of levels. Really fucking dumb. Right?
So essentially, the fail isn't Mysterio's fail.
It's Bischoff's fail. It's Bischoff's fail. Oh,
in a business sense.
It just involves Rey Mysterio.
Right?
Yeah. So here we go. We go through the levels of this is wrong, and there's multiple levels. First of all, that, as we said, his mask merchandise was selling like crazy. So you've now essentially thrown all that cash, potential cash, down the drain.
Yeah.
Because you've stripped him of his mask. All that money is gone, right? And you think, okay,
just everything into the manufacture of it. There goes thousands already.
Yeah. Secondly, if apparently Bischoff, the reason why he did it was because he wanted to have this big elaborate storyline for Mysterio. Maybe he goes for revenge for the person that took off his mask, something along those lines. So you think maybe, okay, if they're going to throw all this money out the window, maybe they're doing it because they think the risk is worth it, so we can create a big brand new star that's going to be one of our star attractions on the show. He can main event pay-per-views, maybe even go for the heavyweight title, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Opens the doors for him, whatever. That's what goes on in Bischoff's head. Eric Bischoff proceeded to do absolutely nothing with Rey Mysterio once his mask was taken off. Reason being, it's because fan responses started to, dwindle, because
that's it.
He suddenly looked like every other cruiserweight on the roster.
That's it. It's like, it doesn't matter whether you put like the fancy pants on him, he still looks like a cruiserweight.
Exactly.
There's no discerning feature. Like, it's just the most dishonorable thing. Like, it's the most dishonorable thing for a lucha wrestler.
That's my third point.
I want you to lose the mask.
Yeah.
What?
That's the third and most painful of all of them.
It's like a heinous crime in lucha wrestling. It's like, lose the mask, you fuck off.
Yeah. Like, our fans may not know so much, right? They may be thinking, especially in the day of nowadays kayfabe, where everything's like, it doesn't really matter. It's still to this day, and especially back then when kayfabe was a much, much more prevalent thing, as we're talking guys got legitimately fined and fired for breaking kayfabe,
Yeah.
Maybe a bit earlier than the era that Ray's talking about, but still very much so prevalent, much more prevalent than it is now, right? Is that in the Lucha Libre culture, as you said there, Matt, the mask is iconic. It is the most important thing of anything that you do. Some Lucha Libre wrestlers have never taken their mask off to this day. There's some people out there that keep the mask on. They may be retired for 20, 30 years. They keep it on, Because they're that character.
If you're going out and you are that character, mask on. Even if you're never going to set foot in that ring and you're just going to be in a suit all day, but you're that character, mask is on.
That's it. So taking it off isn't just taking it off and removing all these things. It's actually an insult to his heritage, right? It is. They take it this seriously. And so for Bischoff, didn't really matter. He doesn't give a shit who pisses off, you know? If he did, he wouldn't have done it. But for Rey, who did it because he got pressured into doing so, right? Might have had a contract with them. They might have said, you're not going to get paid, you get fired. Maybe thought, as a small guy, I was never going to get hired. I don't know the reasons, right? But he thought, I have to do it.
No.
He took it off, and he took the brunt of it. He was essentially expunged, excommunicated from, like, Lucha Libre, right?
Yeah.
Like, they didn't want to know about it. They didn't even want to reference him any further, even though they were very proud of the things that he'd done beforehand. And it was only from when he came back to WWE, put the mask back on, started, making a huge name for himself in WWE, that they're like, okay, let's mend the broken bridges. But for many, many years, Rey, in terms of his heritage, he was an outcast. Like, Lucha Libre want nothing to do with the guy because he insulted them. That's the way it goes along. So you look at this from Rey's point of view. He loses a bunch of money from merchandise. Doesn't do anything for him that was anyway. He wasn't going to move on to any big storyline or anything along those lines. And then the people that he worked with, in the Mexican churches when he was 15 years old, doing wrestling matches and stuff like that, they would be sickened to see the guy.
Yeah.
What a massive fucking fail, Eric Bischoff. So that's our fail of the week. But everything's fine for Mysterio now, except for obviously his current contract.
Except for whatever the hell's going on at the moment.
Yeah. Which essentially he wants to get out of the company, but WWE are like, no, we're not letting you go. So yeah, that's a big, massive fail. That nothing was done with the guy. Leading forward to that. So yeah, very interesting. And now, if you're very interested, you can find matches of Rey Mysterio without his mask in WCW. In fact, in the movie Ready to Rumble, he
is unmasked.
Unmasked, yeah. You can see his face. So, there you are.
In his little camo get-up.
Exactly. And now you see him come out now, even when he was doing interviews and stuff, when he wasn't in the ring for ages, he'd always have his mask on, because that's Lucha Libre, Back then, it's surreal to see the guy without his mask. But there's a few matches, well, a lot of matches there with him without his mask, because he kept his mask off for the majority of the rest of his WCW career. So now this leads into our Raw review. Interesting Raw, this one. We praised Raw last week, and that seemed like we haven't been able to do that in a while. I think the words were, we haven't been able to say 2 back-to-back excellent matches since we started the podcast.
Yeah.
So, in all intents and purposes, a positive Raw. So could they do it again, considering they have 1 week to get over the Cena-Orton storyline, which was supposedly the main event of Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, this coming Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. Apparently the word is that Vince wants it to be Orton and Cena, and Triple H wants it to be Dean Ambrose and Rollins. Orton and Cena will close the show.
Unfortunately, but it's not the one that everyone wants to close the show.
That's it.
I mean, hell, it's not even Orton. Like, we both play the WWE Supercard game.
Yeah.
And they do the pick the People's Champion, and it's like the biggest main event of the upcoming pay-per-view. It's not Cena and Orton.
It's Ambrose Rollins.
Yeah. It's Ambrose and Rollins.
Yeah. But the buck, as we said earlier on with our fan feedback...
The buck stops with Vince.
That's exactly right, yeah. And he wants Orton and Cena. Orton and Cena is what we will get. So, but this Raw, anyway, is the go-home show leading into Hell in a Cell from Kansas City. Apparently their Kansas City Royals are in the World Series for the first time in God knows how long. Don't follow baseball that much, but fair play to the guys. There was a lot of references to them. So
yeah,
this is an extremely promo-heavy show. You can understand why, because they had to get over a lot of storylines, but it was immensely promo-heavy. The Cell is over the ring the entire show. Ominously so, and was involved in some parts of the show as well. So they were selling the show very well, in my opinion. Much better than sometimes they do some of them. So now, Matt, do you remember? Well, I think it was last week or the week before that I said, if the Authority open up the show constantly leading up to the 50th episode of the podcast,
Yeah.
I would go back and tell you how many of the Raws they've opened in the amount of episodes we've done.
You did say
an
this.
average. And I said, but if they have a show in the next 2 weeks where they don't open the show, then I won't do it. I'll give them a free pass. Well, they've got one more week not to open the show because they opened it this week.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you started watching again?
Yeah. So, yeah, they start off the show. Authority is all out. Triple H announces the main event, 3-on-2 street fight.
I'm curious where Stephanie was this week.
Well, there was still stuff about her, wasn't there? She wasn't around backstage. I think she was doing that thing where she got the grants to go to like foreign countries. They announced it on Raw. I can't remember the words of it, so maybe. China had a real big rant about it on a YouTube page.
Oh yeah, I tried to watch that and then suddenly remembered. Oh yeah, she has that annoying voice. Stop.
Yeah, that's it. But so yeah, 3-on-2 match street fight with Authority against Ambrose and Cena. He tells us, Triple H does, that unspeakable things, not thangs, wow.
Unspeakable things.
Unspeakable things. He's getting all Teddy Long on us. Unspeakable things will happen in the cell this Sunday. I know Matt is hoping that someone gets chucked off the cell. That's not going to happen, but I know you're hoping.
Shut up. It could happen.
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
The thing I quite liked that Triple H said is like, it's not a match that you win, it's a match you survive.
Yeah, it's a good line.
And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Even though he couldn't help himself, like, even though I've won more than anyone. Forgetting the dead man.
However, he says that line, which I thought was a good line, then he drops a horrendous line. That apparently the cell will end 2 of the most heated rivalries in WWE history. Really? You cannot stack the heated rivalry of Orton versus Cena against Ambrose and Rollins.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You cannot do it. It's not even close. One has had 1 week of build-up. The other has had, technically, build-up since they debuted, because the story goes back that far.
Yeah.
You know,
essentially, because even back then it was still... Well, no, I wouldn't so much say starting with the Shield.
Well, no, because it all goes back to Rollins betraying the Shield. That's why Ambrose wants to keep the Shield
yeah. I was just sort of thinking, it's like, but was they were in the Shield?
Yeah, no.
Not so much.
No. So, yeah, I don't think... I know WWE did an online poll asking which main event people wanted to see.
Last time I checked, 76% said Ambrose and Rollins.
I think, 3 out of 4 people saying they want Ambrose and Rollins to close out your show. Yeah.
You'd be stupid to let Cena and Orton do it.
Yeah. But apparently, as we said there earlier on the show, Vince wants Orton and Cena to finish the show because he believes that those are the guys they came to see. If there was more evidence that Vince is out of touch with his fan base, I haven't seen it.
I don't know, because the way Raw closed, I'm sort of just like, maybe he's accepting of it.
How many times have we said that? It's going to change this time when it comes to Cena, and it never does.
Yeah.
Still.
I mean, the one thing I'm hating is like, oh, this is like the rivalry that's been going on for a decade. Wasn't their TLC match meant to be the end of the rivalry?
Yeah, it was supposed to. How many matches have they had? Apparently, this will end a decade-long rivalry. And like, I'm sure there's been about 3 matches now. They've said that apparently it will end their decade-long rivalry.
That's it. They've got beef. They've always had beef.
They had like a match on Raw a while. This is a couple of years ago now, but they brought up their tail of the tape, and it was like how many titles they've won, how many wins they have over each other. It was like, this is the final match. We're going to really see who's the best. And now they've had like 2 more pay-per-view matches against each other. 3 more, sorry, because they wrestled on Raw Rumble. So yeah, it's a little bit now. Come on, guys. We said back when Orton went against Cena for the first time recently in that TLC match that we were fine with that match because they hadn't wrestled each other for a long time,
and it was essentially a one-off. Yeah,
that it would be a one-off. Me and Matt, you and me were fine with it, weren't we? Most people were raging about it. Now I can understand why they were, because obviously it's led to far more of the same, and that's not what you and me wanted. We wanted a one-off match between the guys, and now we've got a saga to contend with. So Rollins anyway says that he wants to be called the undisputed future of the WWE. Orton then argues that his match is the true main event, that he'll end the decade-long rivalry, as we said there before. And then Triple H says that Orton versus Cena will be a number 1 contenders match.
Ooh. Yeah. Basically, This is going to be our main event.
Yeah. Essentially.
That's it. What's that? The word title was mentioned.
Yeah.
Great.
Orton then slams the Kansas City Royals. And then I thought for a minute they were chanting Orton. I was like, why the hell are they chanting Orton when you just slammed their team? And then I realised they were chanting Royals, not Orton.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got that wrong. Then randomly at the end of the promo, Kane decided, you know what, I'll do my pyro.
Yeah, I've stood here and done nothing at all. What's that? Triple H's music? Nah.
Yeah.
Boom. Yay, me.
The thing is about this promo, you know, Matt, and I've probably beat this horse is probably dead. The amount of times I've kicked it and said the same thing.
Dead? Right? Jesus Christ! I think it's
the amount of times
like
I've said
beating a skeleton now.
Yeah, the amount of times I said, and you're gonna say it for me. You know what I'm gonna say.
That they've opened the show.
Yeah, well, not only that what should open shows in my mind?
A match,
right? This was an authority segment, which is more of the same authority segments, which unfortunately is not a good thing.
Yeah,
I don't think they get the crowd riled up. You could very easily give them a very high, impact match. It doesn't even
bring out the Usos and the Dust Brothers,
which I'm going to slam them this week as well. So here we go. Anyway, they air a segment anyway from main event. Last week was Sheamus and Sandow. It's ironic, right? Because apparently Sheamus is doing his comedy, which is horrendous. He's like the biggest offender for bad jokes in WWE. Sheamus is horrific for it. It really is. It's ironic then you've got Sandow next to him who's genuinely trying to be funny, and he gets more of it over. Just by acting like Sheamus. Where he had like the white bodysuit. Yeah. But apparently Sheamus had the audacity to say that apparently he's a bit of a joker. Okay, you make jokes. They're not funny, but you make jokes. So,
yeah. Not quite the same thing.
Here we go. Right, Sheamus and Usos against Mizdow, Goldust and Stardust.
No. It wasn't Mizdow.
Well, it was supposed to be Miz, but the Mizdow.
Well, it was. It was meant to be Miz.
They were meant to be Miz, right?
Yeah.
You said before, Matt, last week, that how many times have we seen the Usos against Goldust and Stardust in 6-man tag matches, and they just introduce two guys, right?
I lose track.
Right? Out of this month, there's been at very least, and there may be more, on Raw, 3 matches, 6-man tag matches between the Usos and Goldust and Stardust with 2 interchangeable people. Sheamus has been involved in 2 of those matches.
Yeah.
Right? So, they obviously... why wouldn't you then set up instead, if you're really going to build up, because they do have a tag team title match, the rematch, right? And it looks like they've run out of ideas. They obviously have, because they keep doing the same thing. Why not have it so you have, this week, you know what we're going to have? We're going to have Jey Uso against Goldust in a singles match.
Yeah.
Do that instead.
How could that hurt?
Yeah, exactly. Like, instead of giving us the same stuff. I mean, now, before people get on me, yes, it was a good match. It was, right? They always deliver, these guys. The problem is, they're delivering the same stuff because they're given nothing else to work with.
Yeah.
I imagine that one of the Uso brothers against one of the Dust brothers in a singles match could really be something worth watching. And it wouldn't take away from the pay-per-view tag team title match. You know?
Not at all.
That's the way it goes. So yeah, again we get another 6-man tag matches. Just it is lazy. It's lazy booking. The Usos have a mini video package during the intro. It is a bit painful, I have to say. They do the best of what they have, but it's just like that they're talking off a script. It's just too hokey, you know. It doesn't have any fluidity to it. Why can't we have like Mean Gene Okerlund back in there and people just raging out in video packages and stuff like that again, you know?
Oh, I miss it. Let me tell you something about Mean Gene. Oh,
you know, and they just got rid of rad for ages, you know. Then Stardust and Goldust get their video package. If you've seen anything that they've said recently in their backstage stuff, you know what to expect here.
They're not science fiction, they're science fact.
Yeah. The thing is, it highlights the fact that we've seen a lot of what these guys have to bring already. And I really hope that when Stardust and Goldust do beat the Usos, which I do believe they will do, that they move on and do something else. They have to at this point. It's like Paige and AJ. They've just been fighting each other too long. The rivalry's gone on too long.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious. I'm just kind of hoping that we actually find out what the fuck they've been going on about.
Yeah, it's just bonkers. I don't think there's
finally we'll have answers.
I don't think there is answers, to be honest. I just think it's just gobbledygook. But there we go. The match is good, as I said. It is decent, but it's more of the same. Like I said, 3 6-man tag matches we've seen between these guys. It's too much in the last month. Sandow, however, who is getting more and more over in his current gimmick, gets the roll-up pin victory. He utilizes the most devastating finish move in wrestling history, the roll-up pin. It claimed the scalp of the United States champion, no less. Wow. Is there no one this move cannot beat? Brock Lesnar should be quaking in his boots for the Mizdow roll-up. Jesus.
It's going to get you.
That's it. So yeah, this leads to the fact that Miz was celebrating because technically it is his stunt double that won, so Miz technically wins, and then
Jesus Christ, like Miz looked like it was Christmas.
Yes. Hey, pinfall victories over Sheamus aren't very regular, so there we are.
So the one thing I'm kind of hoping is like this whole thing comes to an end because Miz tags, like, you get in there, you're my stunt double. Like, Sheamus gets the win over Sheamus, and then Miz is like, I won! It's like, well, I pinned him for the belt.
Yeah. That's a possible storyline.
And then you have a Miz-Sandow rivalry.
Yeah, like, that's possibly one that they could do, is that maybe Sandow does win the belt or something. I don't think it will happen. I do think Sheamus will win, but we'll go to predictions. But, maybe Sandow does win the belt, and then he tries to give it over, because, that's part of his job, but then, Triple H is like, no, you won the belt, you're the champion, I don't care what happens, and then Miz is like freaking out, you're fired, and all this lot. Maybe that's the way you break him up, but there we go. But don't think it's happening now, but still. Triple H and Orton are backstage. I was tempted, very tempted, especially in the earlier promo where Triple H was saying how proud he was of his authority brethren. And he said the word proud about 8 times, and I was thinking, you know what? There was another time in a movie where I watched that thing, and it was Freddy Got Fingered. And I thought I was going to make an intro where they're just going, proud, and Triple H, proud, and yeah, just going on there. But apparently he's proud of Orton. Orton says that he'll make Triple H proud by going on...
like, but I am proud.
Yeah, that's it. Apparently Orton's going to go on and win the title. Triple H advises him that apparently the number 1 contendership was Rollins' idea. And Orton goes off to thank Rollins. I will say, with this show, the signs push towards a possible Orton face turn. That is very much in the works. People may be more shocked about it than you realise, but out of anyone in the authority to break off with them, and if he breaks off with them, they ain't staying heel, they will be going face. Orton at the moment is that guy. And with all the positive mainstream attention he's been getting with his RKO stuff, like Scottish football players RKOing people in celebration, it's like...
I don't know if it would be a face turn, but it would be like a liked turn, if that makes sense. Like, he'll still be a dick to everyone.
He's still going to be the Orton character, but he will be cheered. So I class it as a face. That's what I say anyway. Yeah. He's much more likely to do it. Kane's not going to do it. There wouldn't be any point. Rollins isn't going to do it. There wouldn't be any point. Orton is the only one that makes a point there, and there is signs towards him doing it. So
I'll bring it up on our predictions, but I've got a plan. I've got a theory.
Yeah, I think your theory is probably the same as mine. So we're going to go to that. And now they air the complete Wyatt vignette, which is pretty much the Rowan, Harper, and the Bray Wyatt one all in one. Whoever led the production on these videos, give him a raise and give him more work to do, because I would like to see more stuff like this.
It's been amazing, and I've been having nightmares.
Yeah, it is awesome.
It's creepy and it's amazing.
It's reminded me of the reasons why I love the Wyatt family coming in, and it's been so pivotal to remove the Wyatts out of the field at the moment and build them up, go back to their roots, because they have been misbooked, right? Yeah. Just categorically. This year has been horrendous. So start again. And there's no problem if their creative team hold their hands up and say, look, yeah, we did kind of fuck up Bray this year, guys, but you know what? Let's take him off for a little bit, give him like what I'm going to call the Wyatt reboot, and send them back out there, and we'll do it properly this time. I've got no issue with them doing that. For them to admit their mistake and try again, because this gimmick works. It
Yeah.
just does. And, you know, it's just it's quite pivotal that next week, more than likely, or maybe even at the pay-per-view, you're going to see Bray Wyatt around Halloween.
Yes.
So there you go. All works, doesn't it? All clicks into fashion there. So AJ Lee against Alicia Fox. It is confirmed AJ and Paige will face each other at the pay-per-view again. I do hope that is the end of their rivalry. I can't take any more with these girls, and I love the
It better be a first-class match.
You and me are very, very positive on both AJ Lee and Paige, but they need to get the fuck away from each other because it's getting stale very quick.
Yeah.
They've been fighting each other too long. One thing I will say here, and we don't say much good towards Alicia Fox, she landed an almost pitch-perfect Northern Lights suplex in this match. It was sexy.
Definitely.
Do you know the one I'm talking about? It was a sexy Northern Lights, I have to say. Very, very well done. And the quality of the move genuinely caught me off guard. I was like, wait a minute. Whoa, that is...
She did something good.
That was really good. Yeah, that was a good suplex.
It's more, the thought of it's more horrifying than a Wyatt vignette.
Yeah, it was good. Man, just use that. Man, I've got no problem with Alicia Fox doing that each week. That was a good Northern Lights suplex.
That's what I've just been realising is the fact that, like, because someone raging, almost sort of just like, how does everyone just keep saying bad stuff about the Divas division? Rah, rah, rah. And I'm just like, no, look. Nikki Bella shocked me at the triple threat match.
Yeah.
But it's almost like all the Divas have sort of upped their game a bit.
Somewhat.
I say up their game. It's not exactly like they've just gone from shit to shine.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We've seen a lot of crap, so little things like this, we're like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like she did
like there's
one
signs
amazing
of improvement.
Yeah. I do know what you mean, but I mean, Alicia Fox, we said that her character when she was going mental was mildly entertaining back when it was. I don't mind Alicia Fox. She can do more than the majority of people on there. But it was just that one move. I was like, you go, girl, man, that was good. That's probably the best Northern Lights suplex I've seen in a long time. So there you go. However, the Northern Lights suplex, while it's a great move, and she got a 2 count with it, it does not compare to the most devastating finishing move in wrestling history, the roll-up pin.
I know.
Two matches in a row this week. Wow.
Like the man who invented it's just rubbing his palms together just maniacally.
Yeah, that's it. Truth be told, I know we make a joke of this, and we will continue to do, because it is funny. Come on, WWE, come up with a different finish. Come on, you've used it far too much. The schoolboy roll up has claimed more people than the Tombstone pile driver. That's something wrong with that in my eyes. So there we go. Come on, where was in the days where people used cradle pins? You know, I went back and watched Bret Hart against Owen Hart this week. Owen Hart won by reversing a cradle pin. What an awesome finish! And it was like, yeah, it's like a quick pin, but you didn't schoolboy him like all these other ones. It gets a bit too much, and they rely on it far too much. I would much rather they test themselves and remove that finish out of their repertoire and not use it in its entirety. Just remove it at all, and then you know what I mean? Because otherwise they're just going to keep going back to it. But still.
Yeah, it's sort of just like that. Take it out your playbook.
That's it.
Just get rid of it.
That's it.
Nope.
It is sad. Whenever I do see it, whenever I see anyone get the roll up on them, I expect them to get pinned now, and it's just a really shabby way of doing it. Since when, if they want to do it to someone, the heel got the win, but it was just a cheap little win, why not put your legs on the ropes? Since when have we never seen anyone do that? There's other ways you can get cheap pinfall victories.
Yeah.
We used to see how many times...
we saw tights pretty recently.
Yeah, tights, but it's still a roll-up pin, you know what I mean? But, like, we used to see tons of these shady little pins, where people put their feet on the ropes. I haven't seen anyone
to get the leverage and things like that. Yeah,
stuff like that. And, like, they would be over the referee or something, so the referee wouldn't see it until after the match was done or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just, there is stuff like that they can do. Maybe the agents backstage have forgotten, and they go back to the roll-up pin. It is a little bit depressing, I will say. Orton thanks Rollins backstage. I say thanks, basically says, stay the fuck away from my shit, essentially.
That's it.
In a more PG way.
Like, I realised it was your plan. Cool. But back the fuck away.
Yeah, back the fuck away, yeah. Rollins insinuates that all he wants is Orton to win the belt, so essentially cash in on him. That's essentially what he states here. And it makes sense. If you had to choose to cash in on Lesnar or Orton, who would you pick? I
Yeah,
would pick Orton.
it's a pretty obvious answer.
Yeah, I would pick Orton all day long. I'd pick Orton. So why not get someone else to do your dirty work? Someone beats the beast for you, and then you cash in when they're fucked. Why not do that? So that's the way it goes. Now, I said this Raw is an extremely promo-heavy Raw. This is the start. They've already had one very heavy promo at the beginning of the show. This is the second of 4 very lengthy promos on this show. Sorry, 5 lengthy promos on this show.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff in the ring talking the show. And they had to, as I said before, because they've left it so late to build up these rivalries, especially Orton. And this is the one with Orton. So he's out for his own promo. This did seem like the Orton show. Orton had his fingers all over this show. He was everywhere. Backstage promos, in the ring promos. He had a main event match. It was the Orton show this week.
Yeah.
He slams the Royals again.
Cheap heat.
Yeah, cheap heat, yeah. Compares his rivalry to the great ones of old, like, Rock Austin, Brett Michaels,
yeah,
stuff like that. I'm sorry to break it to Orton, but I don't think Cena versus Orton will be remembered for being good. It will be remembered that it never ended.
Gee, if I try to think, 60-man Iron Man match, Michael's heart comes to mind first.
Yeah, exactly. It is ironic, though, because a lot of people say this, it never ends. Cena versus Orton 5 billion times, and they have wrestled each other a lot of times. But Austin and Rock also fought each other a ton of times. They wrestled, 3 WrestleManias they wrestled against each other for.
Yeah.
People didn't have a problem with them doing it.
I'm
not slamming the fans and saying, you're so fickle. It just shows you that it's not so much how often these guys fight, but how different they make each fight. And
yeah,
that's what made Austin and Rock.
I saw a great little thing. It's just like, when this first happened, and it was Randy Orton versus the Prototype in OVW. Yeah. So, Orton Cena.
Yeah.
When this first happened, it was still the Attitude Era.
Yeah. Isn't it?
And it's just like, shit.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a bit of an interesting thing that, I mean, as I said, I must have seen tons upon tons of Rock versus Austin matches. Especially, like I said, they had 3 WrestleMania matches with each other.
And they were all great.
They're all great, yeah. And some of the matches between Cena and Orton have been great. I just think the way that WWE books it comes off so boring.
Forced?
Yeah, so forced. Yeah, it does. Like this rivalry is forced. Their match that they're having now is forced. You know? And they keep saying it time and time again, this is going to end their rivalry. It's not going to end their rivalry.
Again.
They'll wrestle each other again on pay-per-view, I guarantee. Orton then tells Cena to cram hustle, loyalty, and respect up his ass. And you can tell that Orton, he's riled up this show. He's trying to do everything he can on the mic to sell this rivalry in the allotted time, which isn't a lot of time.
Yeah.
So he actually, normally you'll have Orton in there just mumbling a few words, I'm the greatest, no one can beat me, I'm going to be the champion. He was pretty riled up on this promo. He was probably one of the better promos he's done.
He was actually really good, actually.
Yeah, he was good this week on the mic. And you're the most critical person of Orton, really, aren't you?
Yeah,
yeah, because
I sometimes find Orton to be just like, I mean, we've joked about it in the past, where it's like, I am Randy Orton, and now you're starting to feel sleepy.
Yeah. Look into my eyes, it's sleepy now.
Yeah.
What's
out of nowhere?
Yeah. So, yeah, he's definitely been guilty of a few promos like that, but this one was good. And for you to say it's good. You guys listening now know that Randy Orton pulled something out of the bag here, so there you go.
There you go.
Because Orton doesn't get praise from Matt easily, shall we say. But as we know, right,
I
Matt,
will praise Orton.
Yeah, when the time calls.
When he deserves it.
So, what happens, Matt, if you say the name Cena too many times?
The boogeyman, and he's going to get you.
Yeah, he's going to come get you. He appears. Orton made the bad decision to say Cena far too much, and then Cena came out. He essentially told Orton to shut up. He gets all hypocritical again and comedic on Orton's ass. He says here, I'm just spotting this a lot with Cena recently, that Orton talking about 2002, are you an old man? Are you talking about this? And stuff like this. Bad comedy, really. it's ironic because didn't Cena talk about his past with Brock Lesnar when he went against him recently? Oh, I fought you back in 2003, whatever, when you were the champion. You decimated me then. And I fought you in 2002. It's like, so you're going to have a problem with Orton reminding us that you guys had matches back then? It's a little bit hypocritical.
With memory lane. Funny that. Last couple of weeks ago, you were pulling on that card.
Yeah, you were pulling that card, yeah. It's just a bit hypocritical. He says that Orton... oh, sorry, no, I'm getting ahead of myself now. So what happens here, right, is that Cena then, because he's the face, they bring up the Royals card again, the Kansas City Royals, and Cena says, oh, they've got a great chance to win and stuff like this. I've been watching a lot of ESPN First Take. I know you probably don't know what that is, Matt.
Nah.
But basically it's a show that, it's basically Sky Sports News.
Okay, for America.
For America, you know, like basketball, and stuff like that, right? And I've been watching a lot of that. I've been getting into basketball a ton recently, as Matt knows.
Because you've been playing too much NBA.
Yeah, but I've been watching loads of NBA as well, so just getting surprisingly into that sport, because I do like any sport. I'm getting into that recently. So there's two guys on that show. One's Stephen A. Smith and one is Skip Bayless. They are famous for arguing with each other about certain teams. And, you know, Stephen A. Smith will say stuff like, that's blasphemous! You can't talk about Kobe Bryant! I just thought they were going to break out into something similar like that. Maybe our American fans know what I'm talking about. You get a little bit of a chuckle at what I thought about there. But I thought suddenly they're going to break out a chair and suddenly they're going to start throwing pens a lot across the table and, I can't believe you said that. I'm going to walk off the set and stuff like this. Just, okay, a bit random. This brings out Paul Heyman. Bit randomly.
Oh, of course.
We heard that apparently...
You mentioned Brock Lesnar too many times.
Yeah. No, the ironic thing with this, right, is that apparently they wanted to keep Heyman off of TV because they didn't want to draw to the fact that Lesnar's not on TV, right? And having Heyman around and saying stuff about Lesnar, which he will do, draws the fact that the champion isn't at the pay-per-view. That's the reason why they didn't want to do it. Maybe they came to their senses and realised that Heyman's good enough to sell his client without referencing, oh, my client fucking hates being on WWE, he's not going to wrestle here. You know, he's not going to say stuff like that, you know.
I'm sorry, but to be perfectly honest, like, Heyman is like, Arab, here is sand, you're going to buy it.
Yeah.
It's like, Eskimo, here is ice, you're going to buy it.
He's got, you see, well, he does what on the mic what Ziggler and Rollins can do in the ring in terms of selling stuff. Paul Heyman. He reminds us as well that Lesnar also debuted in 2002, and then he went on to beat The Rock for the belt in less than a year, much longer than it took Orton and Cena to win their titles, respective belts. He says that Cena and Orton are equals, but Lesnar has no equal, and the winner of the match is actually the ultimate loser, as they will be destroyed by Brock Lesnar. I love how he sells Lesnar. It's poetry. It really is. He goes on and says that Orton wants no part of Lesnar, and while Cena does, he'll get eaten alive by his challenger-eating beast Brock Lesnar. I loved that. I love that line. It makes it seem like this just incomparable demon just waiting to eat on his number one contender. I love it. I love it. I guess you were the same.
Oh, it's just Heyman was talking.
It was gold by Heyman this week, wasn't it? Ironic, weirdly, Cena's like acting very odd recently. He's not acting like your normal face, like goody two shoes John Cena, even though he kind of is at sometimes, right? He just goes to AA Heyman. Heyman didn't do anything. He didn't say, "Oh, Cena, you suck. I hope your mum sucks my Johnson." You know, he didn't say anything along those lines. He just sold Lesnar.
Straight up goes to AA the guy.
It was a little bit random. It was like, "Oh, you're gonna get your ass kicked. You've got nothing like this." Yeah, he did say something like this, but he wasn't like, "Oh, you know, I hope that you get syphilis." You know, there wasn't anything like this.
There was none of that. I mean, he was just like, that's it. It was just like, obviously you referred to like previously where he's just like, oh, it'd be like your mum would be really disappointed if knowing she had a son with no balls. Not really an insult to his mum.
Yeah.
Which we've mentioned before. Yeah. But like, it's not like this time. It's just like, your mum sucks Brock's dick.
It wasn't like that, was it? I mean, if he said that, fair play to Cena, you know, fucking kill the guy. I would have done the same, right? But it's like Cena just goes to AA him. It's like, really? Really? Brock is really under your skin, dude.
I was going to say, we're back a few months ago where Cena's going heel for Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. But, you know, Cena, you know, in mid, you know, his good side, his good demon, which always gets over him, you know, reminds him, not a good idea to do that. But then he gets an RKO for his troubles. And we all know, Orton, he's in the RKO mood recently.
That's
He's
it.
RKO'd the internet last week. And he's still doing it. You know what? He thought, I gave one to Cena, why not give one to Paul Heyman? And he does. He RKO's Paul Heyman. Who sells it very well, actually. I thought Heyman did a good job, actually.
Heyman took an RKO really well, yeah.
He took it like a champ. Now, I thought this promo was actually really good. I actually thought that Heyman, Orton, and Cena did pretty... Cena was a little bit more hypocritical, and it's like, oh, really? But I thought Orton and Heyman, in particular, were good. And it seems to me, especially with this promo, that Orton is on the fast track to be facing Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar will not like the fact that he RKO'd his manager. We all know Brock will defend his manager. We know that. And an RKO to Heyman is just as good as an RKO on Lesnar himself. That's the way that is treated going forward.
Yeah, it's the way they see it.
Yeah. So, to me, Orton's on the fast track. Now, obviously, we'll talk about our predictions later on, because that's heavily tied into that. But, yeah. Heel Randy Orton does not RKO Paul Heyman. Like, he's still heel at the moment, but Randy Orton as a heel for the next 6 to 8 months does not RKO Paul Heyman in that situation. No. So, there we are. Rusev against Big E. This is the second huge segment. It had a match, and it had a very, very lengthy part after that. Promo-heavy stuff. We thought, as I said earlier on, talking about the NXT stuff, we thought that Big E, Woods, and Kingston being paired together would really help their careers. In retrospect, it damaged all of their careers, which is really odd. Really is. They have only spent 2 weeks of TV together. That was consecutive, and that was about a couple of months ago.
And one of them was just like, they weren't even directly involved. They were just stood watching.
Yeah. So, there you go. There's not exactly much there to get into. And we do hear people... I mean, it is bad. Like, people don't know here, I'm not a fan of Kingston. I think the guy could look all the way across the world. He still wouldn't find a personality worth watching. I think he's got nothing, personality-wise. But Big E, Xavier Woods, I think they might have got something, at least something to give. And, man, Big E's been wasted, man. Big E could be something big, a little bit ironically, and with a pun, he could be something big in that company.
Yeah, Big E could be big, yeah.
Yeah, I think he could, but he's just nothing being done with him.
No.
Nothing. It looks like this match could have had a lot to it, but they had an ad break in the middle of it, which looked like it cut out the majority of the action. So you got the opening bit, you got the end bit, and it looked like the match was pretty good. I have to say, you had
I was quite interested in what I saw of it, but it's just like, and what I saw of it is nothing.
Yeah, they cut out a huge portion of the match, which I imagine they had to, considering the amount of extremely lengthy promos. And they had to fit in an extremely lengthy promo at the end of this match as well. So,
yeah.
Rusev gets the win anyway via the Accolade. Then you get Lana and Rusev cutting essentially.
For a guy Big E size, he bends really well, doesn't he?
He's athletic, Big E. He can get around that ring pretty well. I mean, we saw him do that awesome spear on Rusev during his rivalry with Rusev out of the ring. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he can do his fair share. And same goes to Rusev as well. I mean, he was using spinning heel kicks in this match. That guy can jump around the ring. Good stuff.
Yeah, from his drop kick 1 week to a spinning heel kick, it's just like, Jesus, man.
What I would do if I were Rusev is I'd look at Cesaro, look at a guy that doesn't look like he could be as strong as Rusev, but then does amazing feats of strength, and I'd flip it on his head. Everyone imagines Rusev to be a powerhouse because he's a chunky guy. He's not ripped, but he's got mass and it's strength.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he, instead of wowing people with his power, he wows people with speed and quickness out of nowhere. His kick out of nowhere, his spinning heel kick. Sometimes he'll jump over people and do stuff that you wouldn't expect a guy his size to do. That's how you get the Cesaro effect when you're a big guy. You flip it on its head, you do the speedy stuff. So that's that. I do like Rusev when he does those sort of things anyway. Rusev Lana cut their usual promo, as I did last week. You've heard it all, guys. You really have. I'll rip your spine out. Your fans will hate you. That sort of stuff. And Nemanja! And all that, stuff.
Yeah, shut up.
Shut up. Yeah, that's it. However, when they look like they're going to celebrate with their flag, the flag doesn't come down. The smiling Big Show is on the Titantron. He releases the American flag instead. That smiling Big Show, I know, is going to get memed to shit at some points because the amount of facial expressions he has made on the show, whether he's laughing, crying, he's angry, he's got some funny expressions in his bag, shall we say, Big Show. But yeah, as you said there, it releases the American flag. Rusev going mental. He goes, well, you know what? Big Show tore down my flag, so I'll tear down yours. A indie wrestler playing an American serviceman. It wasn't an American army dude. Come on, guys, it's not an actual serviceman that got into
Let's be serious here.
I say that. I know our fans are more intelligent than general wrestling fan base. They all knew. Come on, it's the LTW fans. They all knew that this was.
It's like, it's another one of Booker's guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yes, the amount of Booker T's always got someone to go in and you know be a security guy
2 seconds.
for a week.
Booker, I need someone to get kicked in the head. Done.
Done. There you go. So yeah, he gets as you say there, Matt. He gets kicked in the head for his troubles. Big Show, you know, he's irate. He says there's certain lines that you don't cross. To me, I know it's all this storyline, but to me, the line that you don't cross is when fans don't jump the barricade. But there you go. I've always what was it? It must have been about a year ago now. A fan jumped the barricade, legit, in a live show, and tried to low blow Randy Orton. You remember this, do you, Matt? There was a video of it, and Orton kicked the shit out of the guy. And I said to Orton, I said, you know, back then we weren't podcasting back then, but I said to you back then, I wish that Randy Orton didn't let the guy leave the ring. I hope that he dragged him back in there and kicked the 7 barrels of shit out of him. You don't cross the barrier. You wouldn't catch Japanese fans jumping the barrier because they have more respect. Just saying.
That's it.
There you go.
Just getting a little too into it.
Yeah. But still, you know, I just thought that was quite funny, you know, because you know you look at his storyline, right? Rusev is all within his power to kick the dude in the head, wherever he's got like a serviceman suit on or what. A fan has come out and has tried to attack him. You don't know the guy's got a knife. You know what I mean? Like, kick him in the head. I would. Doesn't matter. I'm just saying that. Just saying.
However, it has led to the best South Park picture regarding it.
Yeah, that was a good.
I thought this was America.
So, as you said, Big Show very pissed off in regards to this. He's like, I'm going to destroy you and I'm going to knock your head off, all this sort of stuff. WWE, with this, they're trying to get mainstream attention. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to rile up people here. That's what they're trying to do, which for them is a little bit admirable because they would normally be too scared to do that stuff. However, everyone knows that the whole thing is staged. You know, people know it is. No, I guarantee you, no news articles will be written by journalists stating a Russian wrestler kicked one of our servicemen in the head. What a dick, and all along these lines. No, that won't be done anyway. Big Show goes on, ends the rivalry by trying to find Rusev backstage, but he can't find him. That's essentially
that was really disappointing. I was expecting more. It's like, oh, he's in his locker room because there's a door that has an A4 sheet of paper that says Rusev next to it. I'm just like, oh, he's not in there. And then what? Oh, Big Show gonna look angry.
It's not as if, like, Big Show barged in, it was like, and then it fades out with him getting angry. It genuinely looked like Rusev was going to jump out from the shadows and attack him. That's the way that they filmed it.
Yeah,
so it was a little bit
and then just had Big Show looking broody.
Yeah, like very sad, you know.
He's not here.
He's not here.
Big Show sad.
Maybe he was a bit too slow. Big slow.
He's a bit slow.
Yeah, there we go. I'm glad you picked up on that. That's good stuff. So, talking of scary stuff like the Wyatts, Ambrose is backstage. He's watching See No Evil 2. Bit of a cheap plug there, still. Yeah. Apparently, he's researching Kane, which is sure.
I did like that. It's just like, oh yeah, I did research on our opponent. Right.
Well, at least he wasn't watching Orton's one, because he'll go to the papers if he has to. Just saying, right? No. At least he's watching Kane in action, whereas Orton just sitting down there looking, you know, making his cheek muscles clench as he's.
Oh, were you talking about the Orton one where he played a paramedic?
Well, yeah, he's like, he got that famous, like, I'll go to the papers if I have to. That was his, like, big line in that whole thing.
I haven't seen it.
I don't know. No, was it? I can't remember the name of the movie. I think that's probably the worst sort of condemnation of his glowing movie career, Randy Orton. Anyway, Cena comes in. He says that, and then, he, I can't remember. Oh, my notes here are going a bit odd. Well, either Cena or Ambrose compare themselves to Superman and Batman.
Ambrose compares them to Superman and Batman, and then it seems like, if anything, you're the Joker.
Yeah, you're the Joker. That's it. You know what? The funny thing is, right, is that yeah, fair enough. It was an alright mini promo. It was, but the word American, like Ambrose was saying, oh yeah, you are, because like you've got a strong American jaw, strong American arms. Like, yeah, Cena's going to be taking Rusev out soon.
American.
Cena's seeing a new push. He's honed in, and I'll tell you what, after this pay-per-view, doesn't look good for Rusev, man. With all the things that we keep hearing, anyway. Brie Bella against Summer Rae. Yeah, essentially. They announced some commentary. Apparently, the Bellas will be having a match at the pay-per-view, and the loser will be the other's assistant for 30 days.
How childish does this stipulation sound?
It does.
If I win, you've got to be my slave. It's almost like the Bella twins have become 4 again.
Yeah, they're throwing their toys out of the pram at each other, Hey, their family have already come on and said, oh, I don't know how to deal with them, so... However,
such bitches.
The premise of the next month of tapings and Raws, with this whole thing, the assistant thing, I can only foresee some really bad promos coming. I can see it in the horizon. The match itself is quick, inoffensive, but it's quick. I think that's probably the nicest thing I can say.
Inoffensive? This match is going to be offensive, because I'm going to have to watch it.
What? The Brie Bella Summer Rae match was inoffensive, but the Bella's match is it could be a good match. It's just not going to go anywhere. Okay, there you go. Matt, we're done with the Bellas.
I've instantly written it off. Just no.
You escaped the country to get away from the Bellas rivalry, didn't you? So
I know. I have to come back for it.
You left me on my own to do a podcast, man. I had to talk about these girls. Come on. Yeah. Still. So, our last big promo segment of the night. There was a lot, as we said, lots and lots of them on the show. Very promo heavy. Dean Ambrose comes out armed with a duffel bag, which contains a Seth Rollins doll.
Yes.
Ambrose says that Rollins has become a puppet for the Authority. He then proceeds to rip off the doll's hand and slaps his own face with it. Hammers the point home by hammering the doll also. He says he also dreams of chopping off Rollins' testicles.
Just pulls out a saw.
Yeah. And then he brings out his ball tongs again and clamps the doll's testicles.
Yeah.
Now, I'm starting to think that JBL, with his little people sex fetish, maybe he isn't the only person with a sex fetish on this show. Maybe Ambrose likes ball clamping just a little bit too much.
Yeah, just puppet sex.
Yeah, puppet sex. Maybe Ambrose is a big fan of clamping testicles. I'm just saying. He's doing it a lot recently. He's getting excited. Maybe, who knows? Who knows what Ambrose likes to do in his spare time. I thought the comedy here was a bit crap by Ambrose.
I was just like...
Surprisingly
it was
funny.
a little bit weak. I was like...
Yeah. It is ironic that Rollins coming in actually brought the promo up to speed. And it's like, really? We were just saying that so much the other way. Rollins comes out, he says the usual stuff. And then Ambrose comes in and things kick up a notch. It's the other way around this week. A bit odd. Bit strange, but
it's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. I mean, Ambrose.
It's good to see that Rollins can actually play saviour for a promo. We know Rollins can deliver when it comes to a promo, and it's good to sort of see that if something's sort of slacking, then Rollins could be that little spark to save it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Rollins had a really good, decent heel speech here. Coming out to this. I mean, a lot of it was brought out towards the fans. He was slamming the crowd a lot. Wasn't even so much towards Ambrose, but talking a lot about himself, how he's special above a lot of these other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually thought Rollins really good here on the mic, and he can be just as good. He can be just as good as Ambrose. Ambrose is more likely to have better promos, but he can be just as good when he's given good stuff. Rollins.
Yeah.
Ambrose grabs a drill. I'm immediately thinking CZW. But we know it's not going to that point. Matt's seen some absolutely heinous matches involving turkey, like, automated turkey cutters and shit like that, involving
CZW death matches.
With
just
back in the days where he was Johnny Moxley, was it?
John Moxley,
John
yeah.
Moxley. Oh, a different side of Mr. Ambrose. Maybe a lot.
It's definitely just like, if you enjoyed ECW, you still might think this is too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually started watching some of the stuff, and I was like, nah, I don't enjoy this. It's just really graphic. So I don't know, it's all fake. The blades in those things are made so they're not really damaging, but it's not a great thing to see anyway. But still. However, just as Rollins, he says he doesn't care if you've got a drill. I'm still going to beat you and stuff. Then, out of nowhere, like an RKO, Mick Foley.
Crash.
Yeah, a car crash, yeah. Which means one and only thing, Mick Foley has come to reunite with his old friend, The Cell. It's almost like they should have brought out Jerry Springer and made a bury the hatchet between The Cell and Foley, there.
So the one that I loved is just like, I'm just here to see an old friend. And it's just like, thank you, Mick.
Lower The Cell and let them hug each other. There we go.
That's it. Brace metal once again.
And one of the things that we've been very critical of, especially I remember back before they did the Cena-Lesnar match, right? They brought out Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, 3 absolute top-notch legendary figures in all of wrestling, right?
Yeah.
And they proceeded to do very little with all of them on there, right? Because they weren't really relevant, they didn't give them anything good. They were just plot devices put there for John Cena to bounce off of. Yeah. I thought Foley here was extremely relevant because of the history that he has with the match. I thought Foley here did way more on his own as a legend than
those three previous
combined. Yeah.
I think the one thing I quite liked is the fact that it's not like with those 3, it was just like, well, him, like, Cena's going to win, Lesnar's going to win, definite, no, fuck everything, like, I don't care about your opinion, but it's just like, because he was like, in almost every situation, Seth Rollins wins. And it's like, well, to be fair, inside Hell in a Cell, it could be just a standard match if you don't let your opponent get outside the ropes.
Yeah.
but then he was just like, but it's not a normal match.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, and that's when Ambrose has the advantage. So he's essentially come in and go, you both have a fair shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the fact that what Foley did here, a lot of the stuff with what he said, didn't just sell the match, but it sold the Cell. The Cell as a match type, that it should be something very special, which has been watered down because they randomly put matches in them now. But this is a match that deserves to be in the Hell in a Cell. It does.
That's it. Well, the very first Hell in a Cell was because, like, a rivalry had become so heated that nothing else could contain it.
Yeah, so they had to basically kill each other in a ring, and that's what they did.
And as a result, we got Taker Michaels.
Yeah, Taker Michaels.
What a match!
Who people don't, he wasn't thrown off a cell, but Michaels did fall off of the side of a cell and through a table, so he took his own big bump. A lot of people pave over that a little bit, but
I just think for Foley.
Well, I guess Foley doing what he did probably does overshadow anything else, because that was bonkers.
To which bit?
Well, him getting thrown off the spot. Yeah, I guess both bits, isn't it?
Because he went off and through it in that penultimate, in that sort of big match.
That is madness. We watched that when we were over, together, doing the podcast. It's in the same room, which we're not used to doing. Jesus Christ, man, that is bonkers. That is so memorable. Maybe some people think
since then I've gone back to watch Mick Foley Triple H.
Oh wow, the tacks and all that shit. Oh my god.
Yeah, like through the ceiling in and actually breaking the ring itself.
Yeah, mental. But yeah, as you say there, Foley is reminding us of his matches, of his tooth being jammed up his nose. There's a gloriously violent visual of him, of that happening. Of his tooth being ripped out and being up his nose. It's pretty disgusting, but that's what the.
To be perfectly honest, I'm pretty sure you could just go on Google Images, and if you just search Mick Foley, you're probably going to find that picture.
Yeah, it's one of his most iconic pictures. By far.
Looking crazy with something that looks like, is that snot? That's a tooth.
That's a tooth, yeah. It's pretty mental. Ambrose says anyway he doesn't mind getting scars. You know, he's got lots of scars already. He doesn't mind getting destroyed because he's ready to do the same to Seth Rollins. Foley says it doesn't matter what people say. When people say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, they weren't thrown off of a cell. I think that's a pretty good thing to say. You know, not many people have been thrown off a cell. Mick Foley has that badge, I guess, of honor. I don't even know what to call it, but
you can say badge of honor, yeah.
However, there was a lot of cheap pops on this show. There is one undisputed king of cheap pops, and that is Mick Foley. Whenever he's out, he will say the hometown crowd, and they will give him a nice chant for it. And this segment was no other. So yeah, he mentioned the crowd, got a big pop for it. And you know what? We know it's cheesy. He knows it's cheesy. The crowd knows it's cheesy, but it's just part of Mick Foley. So when he says your hometown, just go mental. That's the way it goes. So
that's it. I mean, the one thing I quite like is there was that moment. It was almost of silence, and then suddenly you just hear the crowd almost build into a crescendo.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mick.
So the segment ends with both men staring each other down. I did think for a little while, a bit strange that Ambrose has been itching to beat up Rollins all this time. He wasn't doing anything.
And now he has this opportunity. He's right in front of him.
Yeah. And then literally as I was typing it, I was like, this is a bit odd. He goes outside to get a chair to batter Seth Rollins. So I was like, okay, fair enough. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I thought Foley and Rollins really picked this segment up, but I thought it was pretty good. I really thought the inclusion of Foley did a lot of good stuff for this for this rivalry. So, I
mean, it's like we had The Rock a couple of weeks back, and it's not like The Rock being there built anything in any form of rivalry sense.
Yeah,
he was just there because he's The Rock. But Foley gave something to this rivalry.
Yeah, he did.
And to be perfectly honest, I thought this rivalry didn't need anything else.
I thought having Foley there, I imagine that him and his promo would have helped people decide whether they're not going to buy Hell in a Cell for a good thing. I think more people will buy it than they decided against it for Foley being there. I really do. He probably sold them a few tickets, and that's what Foley's there for. He's there to build up the cell. He's there to build up both the guys. He's there to, as you say, he said, in any other normal match, I think Rollins will probably have the edge, but this isn't a normal match. He put over both guys pretty well, you know. I think he did very well in this.
He put both guys over really well. He put the stipulation over really well.
Yeah, exactly.
And if anyone knows the Hell in a Cell, okay, maybe he hasn't been in the most, but he's come across the most.
You know what? Sometimes it's not the amount of things you do; it's the amount of times you're remembered for how you did it. And Foley wins that hands down with anyone in the Hell in a Cell.
That's it. Hell in a Cell. Foley getting thrown off.
Yeah. Cesaro here has a mini video package just before his match with Ziggler. He says apparently he'll be a better IC champion than Ziggler would ever be. It's pretty painful to watch. Unfortunately, he just says what's in front of him, which is the script. And I would like Cesaro. I would like them because they think Cesaro is boring. I would like them maybe to give him 5 minutes on a mic to do whatever he wants to say about a rivalry. I guarantee you won't think it's boring. He'll do something in those 5 minutes, but there we go. So then we got the Ziggler against Cesaro. They give us the pay-per-view match a week early because apparently they need a reason to have them wrestle for the title, and obviously they've left it too late now. So we've got the same match twice in a row, which is not good booking. It isn't.
No.
Cole has the audacity to say these guys have got quite the rivalry. Really? Because I probably could have missed it very easily at this point. The Ziggler-Cesaro rivalry has had less done to it than the Miz-Sheamus rivalry, and that's not exactly had much done to it either. So there we are. And a Twitter war, by the way, does not count as build-up. I will not count that as build-up. So no.
I did quite like JBL. It's like they fight over Twitter. In my day, we fought over women and beer.
Yeah,
it's like I like that. Well done, JBL. You said something I didn't hate.
Yeah, he wasn't. Well, I guess when Ambrose was doing all the stuff to the doll, JBL was getting there. He was almost to the point where he was going to blow a gasket again. I was going, oh god, he was
just masturbating profusely.
Yeah,
just like, oh my god, this is terrible.
So yeah, he was largely unsufferable. Not offensive, shall we say, this week.
Yeah.
In regards to that, but But yeah, I thought that the match with Ziggler and Cesaro, I thought it was a good match. I really did. I thought it was good. The only thing is, I hope the guys will have something different at the pay-per-view. I do, because...
the thing I quite like is the fact that they brought his uppercut back into a finisher.
Yeah. I did like that.
But I wish it was a proper falling one rather than just an out of nowhere.
You must have taken my notes. That's literally exactly what's in my notes right now. So, yeah, I would have liked him to...
Get out of my head.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe we've been podcasting too much. We've merged into one. No, we still have differing opinions every time.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, literally, I've just said here I'd like Cesaro's lifting uppercut to finish more of his matches because it is more impressive than the standing one. But I don't have an issue with it. I think it's okay. But like, if for instance now, if he does the push-up uppercut on Ziggler and he kicks out of the pay-per-view, it's going to seem a bit wrong. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But there we go. The Authority is backstage. They're arguing about who's going to be in control of the match later on. Triple H tells Kane he's the general of the group. Kane essentially tells him to shut up and take care of business. A bit random this, because it wasn't as if in the match later on Kane does anything to keep them under, give them orders or anything along those lines.
He's the general, but nothing warranted needing a general. But he is it.
Yeah. It's all to tease Rollins and Orton not getting on, or Orton not getting on with the Authority, but it just was a bit random. But there we are. The era promo for the Cell itself, I imagine this will be the opening vignette of the pay-per-view. It reminded me a lot of the packages they do for the Royal Rumble, which is a bit odd, personally. They were doing, the amount of people that have been in the Hell in a Cell match. And I don't think
weighs 5 tons.
Yeah.
Quarter mile of metal.
They were like, the amount of people that have been in a cell match and never competed in another one afterwards. I would much prefer not by numbers video package. It was okay, but you don't have to build up like the Royal Rumble. There's two different things.
I think the Rumble is the only thing that requires a by the numbers.
Yeah, there's more stuff you can do with it there. You just sell the cell, ironically. And then that'll be fine. But they've had a habit of doing this recently, is that they'll do a vignette about the pay-per-view, and then they'll make that vignette the opening of the pay-per-view, which normally they'll make that different vignettes. But no, they're cutting corners nowadays, aren't they? So there we are. They do air the Wyatts promo again. It's still brilliant. As I said, I do expect them to return either next week or at the pay-per-view. More likely next week, I'd say.
I can't think of a reason why they'd appear at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, personally, I can't either. They could attack someone, but it makes no sense. I'd much rather them have a very lengthy promo back on Raw or do something there. Start something new off of there, regards to that. So we move on to the main event. Cena and Ambrose against the Authority in a street fight. Here's my issue with this match. Street fights, there are no rules or disqualifications, but apparently tags are still in effect.
Yes, I was thinking that, because it's essentially a no-holds-barred match.
Yeah.
So, why... But I just couldn't understand the tag. It's like no DQ. Well, in which case, just storm the ring and just fight it out.
Like, the way they say it about it, they do this a lot, right? They will go through a no DQ match and call it loads of things. A street fight, in my eyes, is a match where you come out in your street clothes. No man in here was in their street clothes. They're in their wrestling gear.
Yeah, it should be a fight that starts funny, maybe in a car park or something.
Yeah, something along those lines. But like more often than not recently, it's a match where I think the most recent one I remember was a street fight between Jericho and CM Punk, and they came out in street clothes. They came out not in their wrestling gear, right? It was a fight, not a wrestling match, right? And there's no DQs, you can fight all across the ring, doesn't matter, right? A no DQ match is no disqualifications, so you can hit someone over the head with a steel chair. So essentially it's a hardcore match, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
And then you've got no holds barred, which they do the same thing as no DQ, but to me, literally a no holds barred match means there are no wrestling holds barred. So essentially you can pile driver people, but they look at it in a different way because they're going to let people pile driver people in WWE. So,
yeah, but then it's just sort of just like, and it's going to be a handicap street fight, but it's just going to be a handicap tag match with just weapons.
Yeah.
Like I knew it was going to happen. That was the terrible bit. It's like I know what a street fight is. This isn't going to be a street fight.
It's like the referee has absolutely no power to stop people getting in the ring, and the Authority are the most stupid ones if you look at it in that case, because they've got two extra people. They've got two,
An extra guy.
They've got an extra guy
for no reason.
Yeah, and they're like, why don't you just go and swarm the ring? The referee's got no way that he can disqualify you. It's a fucking street fight. Just fucking get in the ring. I thought it was a bit odd. That apparently that the tag is the one rule they'll obey, and it's really bad. One thing I would say, Cena here is doing his usual thing when he's on the apron, looking like he's on the brink of ejaculation. Whenever he's trying to get the other guy up, or he's looking about, oh, that guy got hurt. It looks like he's about to.
Like when he needs the tag, he's just like, rub it out.
It looks like Nikki Bella's doing the business down there, and he's on the brink of blowing his load when he's about to tag in. It does take a little while, but he looks more in pain, if anything. So he's just. It looks funny actually just looking at him. Next time, guys, when Cena's in a tag team match and things get heated, don't look at the guy in the ring. Look at Cena, and honestly, you'll see what I mean. The guy is huffing and puffing. He looks like he's in pain. It looks like he's, like I said, he's about to ejaculate. I don't know what to say. Something's going on with him, right? He's having an epileptic fit. I don't know, but still. However, I will say, in terms of street fight, there was a little bit of a hardcore feature to this. There were tables, there were chairs, steel steps.
Yeah, kendo
sticks, yeah. The cell itself was lowered, which I thought was when the match really started to kick up a gear.
Oh, it amped up then, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Rollins gets splattered into a cell, and it gives us a small taste on how that guy can sell in a cell in a cell.
Sell the cell.
Sell the cell. I think we've got the label of this week's podcast, Selling the Cell. So yeah, like oh my goodness, he bounced all across the place, did he, Rollins? And you can expect he's going to be doing more of the same.
Even though there was one thing that I noticed, Orton was a naughty boy.
Oh yes, he did drop the F-bomb during this. I think
if you actually sort of look at it, he did nearly skewer himself on an upside down table.
It's not only that as well. I think he banged his back when he wasn't expecting, when Rollins did his plancha off of the or his dive out of the ring, and then he kind of got hit. And there's not much space outside the ring when you got the cell around. He hit his back and he didn't quite like it. And when Orton thinks he's damaged himself, he's done this a few times. He will freak. He will say fuck, which he said. And he will throw stuff around, exactly what he did in this match. He was not hurt. He's not hurt. He's fine, but
he just wasn't happy.
He wasn't happy at the fact that he probably could have been hurt, and he does that sometimes, Orton. So anyway, moving on to the actual end of the match, Orton wins the match with an RKO. Ambrose looks like he's going to do his clothesline, but Orton's an RKO mood recently, as we all know.
That's it.
That he gets the win. And then Rollins decides, you know what? I'm going to curb stomp Orton for winning the match.
That's it.
So, big
I've got it's just like, and your winners, like Seth Rollins, Kane, and Splat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought it was a cool ending to the match. I think it sold the cell really well, and I honestly,
Rollins decided to clamber up as well.
Yeah. I thought that was a great visual to end the show with him on top of the cell. Really good visual.
Expect to see that Sunday.
Yeah. Well, I expect Rollins to be destroyed on Sunday, but there we go.
No, just expect to see that as part of like a video package.
Yeah. No, you're still what you meant there, Matt. Is you want Rollins to get chucked off the cell, don't you? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, Matt. Stop wishing it.
They're probably the most willing.
They're not going to do it, Matt.
My blood is up. I desire.
I want someone's tooth to be jammed up their nose. Let's do that again. No. But yet again, more signs that Orton will be going face soon, and he'll be going against the Authority and stuff like this. So we'll see how it goes. So all in all, an extremely promo heavy Raw, but I've got to give this Raw a thumbs up. I
enjoyed Raw. I
thought this was one of the best go home shows we've had since we've started the podcast.
Yeah.
I thought that
I could agree with you there.
Yeah. It was almost as if, weirdly, that they have muffed up the build, especially in the Orton Cena match. They've muffed it up. 1 week still isn't enough, but they did what they could in the time they had. And
I mean, I still only care for one match this Sunday. But...
Yeah. But I honestly thought that they really did everything that they could to sell the main matches of this show. Now, the mid-card, we're used to the mid-card not getting as much love, but I thought it was okay. I thought this was a very good show, personally. Maybe not so much wrestling inclined, but it was interesting. You know,
That's it. It's still good.
Still good. I thought it was a very good go home show. And we've had very, very poor go home shows recently. They haven't sold the pay-per-view, haven't sold the rivalries, barely done anything for the actual pay-per-view going up. I thought this did a lot for the pay-per-view. You know, everything went back to the sell. Everything went back to what was going to happen. Everything was going back to the rivalries that was going on.
Yeah.
That's how you should book it. So there we are. I thought it was okay. I thought that the whole Rusev Big Show stuff was a misfire. I don't think that worked, but that's already had the Rusev and Big Show have had the luxury of having a good 4 or 5 weeks to get this rivalry to a point.
Yeah.
So they didn't need to knock it out of the park this week.
It's at a peak, but it was just a bit weak.
Yeah, this week it wasn't quite there, but
But Big Show actually pulled a pretty good promo, which sort of the rage of the giant sort of thing.
I thought it was a bit forced.
Hey, it's a Big Show promo.
It's a Big Show, yeah. So yeah, I do heavily recommend it, and I think the show will get a few people to buy the pay-per-view. I really do. While there were a few missteps, Ambrose I thought was actually quite poor in his opening part of his promo. I thought it came around full circle. By the end of that promo, I thought everything was great. You know, having Foley, Rollins, and Ambrose were really good at that point as well. I thought there was a lot here that's worth seeing, and we'll sell the event to you, which is what a go home show should be.
That's to do, yeah.
So that leads us into our pay-per-view predictions this week. Interesting. Now, this is a harder one to call. This pay-per-view than last month and SummerSlam. You know, so we had Night of Champions last month, and then we got SummerSlam the month before. I thought those two events were pretty easy to call, and you know, Yumi did get the majority of the matches correct. This one, however, a bit more tricky, I think. I don't know what you thought going through the matches yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go through them now, bottom to top, just how they appeared. You know, on looking at WWE.com. So this isn't what we think the match listing will be, but here we are. So Nikki Bella against Brie Bella.
Don't care.
Don't care. Who do you think will win?
Nikki.
I can tell you, Nikki's going to win. There is no point on being the heel, being the one that gets pushed around.
Yeah.
Brie will lose, and then Brie will eventually later on. They're going to have another match against each other.
And then she'll snap and just like, I've had enough of your shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know it's sort of like, do it or you'll get fired. But it's just like...
Yeah. No, it will be Nikki Bella.
No.
I'll be very shocked if they have Brie Bella win, and then Nikki's the one that has to be carted around, and it's a little bit like...
Brie will start beating Nikki when Daniel Bryan comes back.
Yeah, roughly on that.
So she can ride on his heat.
She's already doing it. She's already riding on his
Yeah, that's true.
Big Show against Rusev. This one's easy.
Rusev.
Yeah, Rusev will win. Big Show is not the guy to beat Rusev and get that push. We know who WWE've got.
Show doesn't need a push.
Yeah, John Cena.
Yeah, but he doesn't need a push either.
Yeah, Cena is going to be the guy that goes against Rusev and probably will beat him. But yeah. However, Usos against Goldust and Stardust.
Stardust and Goldust.
Yeah. The first 3 are actually very easy to call. The remainder 5 aren't as easy. Yeah. But yeah, Goldust and Stardust to retain, and then hopefully they go their separate ways. I'd much rather they go to... The thing is, as you said there last week, Matt, well, who do they move on? Who do the Usos go on and face from here? Who do Goldust and Stardust go on and fight?
That's it.
You know, it's not as if the Usos can go and start fighting the returning Wyatts. You've seen that already. You know, you can't do that. So yeah.
But Goldust and Stardust can.
They've got a few people they can go against, yeah.
They can go against the Wyatts.
Maybe. But I mean, the way that the Wyatts have been done in their promos anyway, so they won't be in tag team competition. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes from there. So here we are. These are the last 5 matches on the show, and these ones are a little bit trickier to call.
Okay.
Paige against AJ Lee. Now, it is a little bit tricky. I'm going with AJ to retain.
And I will agree with you there.
And I would have been a lot more push
indecisive.
Push more maybe towards picking Paige. If they haven't announced this week that Paige is going to be on Total Divas.
Yeah.
So, because of that announcement, it does make me think that they're probably going to stick the title on AJ, give her someone else to wrestle maybe, and then Paige can do a thing with Total Divas and be involved in that ring, and then that's how it goes from there.
That's it.
They might even have a thing maybe that Alicia Fox gets involved, maybe causes a DQ or something along those lines. Maybe, but I don't think Paige is walking out there with the belt. No, that's just the way I think about it. It would be a bit odd as well. AJ Lee and Paige have been playing hot potato with that belt for a long time. It would make sense for AJ to...
God, just to think that they've actually been playing hot potato with that since March.
Yeah. It's a long rivalry these girls have had. It needs to come to a halt here.
Yeah.
So. Miz against... Oh, sorry, what did you say? You said AJ Lee as well, didn't you?
AJ as well, yeah.
Miz against Sheamus, US title. This one is tricky. It is. Because there's two different ways they can... Like, Sheamus...
I want my Sandow way to go.
Are you going
That's
with
how
Miz?
I'd book it.
Are you going with Miz? To win? Or maybe Sandow to win, or something along those lines.
Oh, yeah, but we know that they don't think.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Sheamus to win.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do it.
Like, I want it. It's like this usual thing. It's like, it's that problem that we always have. It's like, well, this is what I want, but it's what WWE think I want.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, Sheamus, he's a guy without direction. He's a guy that doesn't have anything, but they often don't let him lose. He wins a large majority of his matches, Sheamus, even though they very rarely have any plans for the guy. I think they'll make him beat Miz here, and then maybe they'll continue the feud going forward. But the way you've got to look at it here, WWE like to do this. This is a big calling card, and this is a big tip to any of our listeners in terms of doing their own predictions. When you've got a face that's getting beaten and made to look bad the majority of the month, more than likely they're going to retain their belt or win the belt. Because they're made to look like a chump to make think, oh, they won't win, and then when they win, apparently it's more shocking, even though it's very formulaic at this point. Sheamus has been made to look like a bit of a chump. He's been beaten by Sandow. He's been made to look like a bit of a fool, you know, in the ring and matches and stuff like that. So he'll come out and win this match, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going with, Sheamus, as well? Or do you think Miz has got a chance? I think Miz has got a chance to win. I'm just going with Sheamus.
I will go with Miz, and if it ends up being my way, then I told you so.
Okay, and you can lord that over me next week.
I can.
You go with Miz to win the belt. Okay.
Miz to win.
Cesaro against Ziggler, IC title. This one again is tricky. Ziggler has only had the belt for a month, was it so? He won it back on Raw, didn't he? And then they switched their things, didn't they? So
yeah.
Who do you think's going to win this one? It is a tough one. I can hear your cogs turning.
I'm going to go with Ziggler because it hasn't been long enough for him to have held it.
Okay, very sound thinking. I would normally go with you. I'm going with Cesaro.
I figured you would.
Not that it means a big push for for Cesaro. I don't think it would take him anywhere. And, you know, this one's 50-50 for me as well. I'm just picking Cesaro. But I can, as you can say, nine times out of 10, I will go with the logic of they won't take the belt of someone a month into their reign. It will be at least 2 months or 3 months.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Something tells me Cesaro, so I'm just going with that. So. Here we go. 2 main events. Ambrose against Rollins.
Ambrose.
It has to be Ambrose.
Yeah, if it's not Ambrose, they've fucked it.
They've really messed it up. He's waited long enough to get resolution for this feud. A loss to Rollins won't hurt Rollins. It won't hurt Rollins at all.
No, he's still missed the Money in the Bank.
Yeah. But a loss to Ambrose would be devastating. I mean, devastating. It would basically make the guy look like he can't beat Rollins, even though he's the guy apparently everyone wants to... I think they'll have the match of the night. I think Ambrose against Rollins will be the most violent on the show. It won't be onto the levels of Mick Foley and Undertaker, of course. Not that we expect that. But, yeah, it has to be Ambrose. I'm going with Ambrose. I think they're not brain dead enough to have Rollins go over him clean. It would be very, very strange. But there we are. Cena against Orton.
Orton.
I'm going with Orton. Now, people might be shocked here and they're like, oh my god, are you going with Orton to beat...
Are we both on the same wavelength? Because you think we are. Even though I haven't spoken to you about what I think.
So here's what I think. I think Orton wins with Cena. Maybe an interference from Kane maybe gives him the match or something, because he's still affiliated with the Authority, right?
I'm thinking clean.
You're thinking clean? I don't think clean. But okay. I think what will happen here is that Orton will face Lesnar as a face and away from the Authority.
Right.
That's where I think this will go. And because I don't think Lesnar's coming back for the next pay-per-view. I think he's still going to wrestle at the Royal Rumble. And Randy Orton could fill that slot pretty well, you know, to go against him. It wouldn't make sense for Cena to go against him again, even though, you know, our famous line here is WWE can't help themselves, and the number one thing they can't help themselves with is Cena. You know, that they will constantly give us Cena in the main event. What did we talk about really earlier on in this podcast?
It's true.
But I do think that all the signs point towards Orton getting the chance and turning away from the Authority, because you don't face Lesnar as a heel. I don't think they're going to want Lesnar to be face. So you're going to have Orton do the mini turn. Maybe he acts like a heel. People will be chanting him though, because he's going to be RKOing heels in the next couple of months. The likes of Rollins, you know, he will get Rollins back. Maybe gets involved in the Ambrose Rollins match by RKOing Rollins. We don't know. Maybe. I don't like it if that would happen, but still.
I don't think they will. I think they would just taint it. Yeah. Now, my thinking.
Go on.
Randy Orton to win.
Clean, which I don't think will happen, but yeah.
Yeah. But to win nevertheless.
Yeah.
But with Rollins losing, it also continues the backstage grief. Well, at least I could pull it off when it counted.
Exactly, yeah.
And it keeps their feud going, which could essentially fill it over. Like I want to cash in on you. Well, there you go.
Yeah, but then you've got an Ambrose Orton match to fill in the time that you have to wait for Lesnar to come back, because I don't think
Ambrose Orton.
No, Rollins Orton.
Rollins Orton.
Yeah.
You said Ambrose.
Oh, sorry, Rollins Orton. You can do something along those lines with them, you know, because I don't think Lesnar's coming back next month. The news that I've heard of everything I've heard, he's coming back for Royal Rumble and Mania. They're the two shows that he's got left on his contract, and maybe a few Raws in between to obviously sell those events. That gives you about 2 months to get Orton over, ready to be the guy to face Lesnar, and 2 months is more than enough time. Even with the Christmas stuff going on. It really is. It's more than enough time. So that's how I see it going. I think actually, the only thing we're different with is the IC and the US title. So that'll be interesting to watch. But they're tricky. I can see a lot of these matches going the other way. I really can, because it's a bit more tricky to call this one than the majority of other events, which for me is good.
That's it. Like when there's a challenge.
That's it. I still will have to convince myself, if they do Cena Orton last on the show, to watch that match, because it's...
Yeah, not to just turn off at that point.
But it does look more and more now that there's going to be some sort of storyline element at the end of that match, so we'll see how it goes from there. But Ambrose and Rollins is... I'd be very, very shocked if that isn't match of the night. It's set up to be, and it's all the signs just point towards it being so right. It really is. So
yeah.
So yeah, that's our predictions for the show, and hopefully I'll come out top. Hopefully I won't get a na from Matt next week on the 49th episode of Let's Talk Wrestling. And we are slowly getting there. Well, I say slowly, man. It's getting quicker. Episode 48 is this episode, and we're getting to our 50th episode. There's going to be a few big changes on
round the corner.
Yeah, that's it. New intro, new graphics. You guys, if you've been with us for a long time, know how it changed back in episode 25. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And then we've got our 1 year anniversary on the on episode 52.
Yeah.
So letting you guys what is going to happen there going forward. On episode 52, me and Matt will be having a segment where we listen to our all-time best moments of the podcast going forward. So if you guys got any particular moments of the podcast, maybe it was me raging at furries, or Matt blowing his gasket over the divas earlier on in the early days of the podcast, let us know, and we could definitely talk about them and stuff that's happened now, and the reason why we were really annoyed, and look back at those moments. But that's what we're going to be doing on our year anniversary. But there's going to be lots of cool stuff on the 50th episode. Going forward.
You never know, we may even be drunk.
Yeah, I'm planning to drink on our 50th episode. I have got beers ready for that episode, so maybe we'll be having a bit more of a merry time than we usually do. We do have a fun time doing the podcast anyway. So we'll wrap up here for you guys. Thanks a lot for catching us along this week again for Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Thank you guys for supporting the show. We seem to be breaking new. It's so good that made Matt burp there. So.
It broke me.
It broke you. That's it. So yeah, we seem to be breaking new milestones each week, and thank you guys for doing that. I know you're sharing the video, you're liking it, sending us some questions. We'd love to hear back from you. Thank you for all the support. And just know that when you leave us messages stating, "Oh, great podcast," we do hear it, and thank you for it as well. We do enjoy getting that feedback for you, and you can send that feedback to Matt personally at TalkWrestlePod. If I can get some other there we go. And but apart from that, we are out this week. We have every week on this podcast. Leave us any questions in the comment section below that you'd like to be featured in the fan feedback next week. Send in loads of questions because we may be saying we get an overflow of them because we like to go through each one. We might get an overflow through very small. But we hope you guys have a great week. We do hope that the pay-per-view is good and you do enjoy it. And apart from that, then you guys are fine with great health, and we'll see you again next week.
That's about it.
Bye bye.
Okay, see.